I am also facing today. Is my voice audible, clear, stable?
Sir.
Sir.
I'm also operating through the phone today. My broadband has
No, sir.
voice isn't clear.
Yes, it's clear now.
Yeah, but my broadband isn't working, so I'm operating through the mobile. Yeah. Okay. So coming back here, all that I'm trying to do here is just change these variables. Sorry. So ये 29.61 मेरी स्क्रीन पर आ गया and 29.6 मोटा मोटा आपके स्टॉक मार्केट के ये नंबर है. So now what does implied volatility mean? The implied volatility means the market is pricing the put option at a value of where is the number? At a value of 640, using probably thinking that the volatility should be around 29.7. So the historical volatility of 35 is not what they're probably factoring in. They're actually factoring in 29.7 as implied by the pricing of 640. So we worked bottom up in the sense that we entered all the variables and said कि भाई इतना put option price होना चाहिए. But that put option price is very different from the actual price. So obviously the assumptions that we fed into the model are not very correct. The major mismatch in the assumptions is in terms of two variables. One is the volatility assumption. The other could be in terms of horizon. So the implied volatility means that the pricing of 640 is suggesting the market is using a lower volatility number like 29.7 and not 35.21, which is what we have estimated with from past data. So if I reduce the volatility to 29.7, for example, then my number shows 700, okay, as my number, which is still not the market price of 640. So then it's quite possible that the fellows who are here are probably not working around 24th of September. They're probably working around, let's say, I'm just putting a number, let's say 24th of August. And now we've come to a number like 557. Okay, so probably they're not working around this number either. They're probably working around, let's say, 30th of August. Okay, and then we are coming number closer up to that 600 odd kind of a number. So, are we clear on what does implied volatility mean?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, so the last prize money that I am charging to compensate the annualized volatility predicted by me, that is the maximum.
हाँ, तो पुट ऑप्शन जो पुट ऑप्शन सेलर है वो कहता है यार इतनी वॉलेटिलिटी नहीं होगी, 35% नहीं होगी, ये 30% के आसपास होगी. एंड इन हिज स्कीम ऑफ थिंग्स ही सेड अगर 35 होती तो प्राइस शुड बी 740 से नहीं ज्यादा प्राइस हो जाएगा. It's too much. I think the volatility will be around 30, and therefore for 30, 640 is a mandated number for me.
Right.
Sir, जो daily volatility है, that will be calculated from a base date, right? So in our case, it is calculated, I think, from 2002 something, right?
No, when the exchange is putting this 1.84%, they're going back 1 year in time. Let's say 365 data points back from today. So 30th of July 2019 के आसपास से चालू किया.
Okay. So they are calculating on the daily basis, right? So that means अगर हम उसी को लेकर के प्रोजेक्ट करेंगे like in future, this is our historical data, right?
Right.
So then annualized volatility or implied volatility, that might be like close to same.
It should be the same.
So इतना ज़्यादा variation क्यों है फिर?
हाँ तो this is historical volatility. Market was volatile because if you see in the last 1 year, COVID factor will be there.
Okay.
Market was very volatile in March. So obviously the daily volatility number of 1.84 is on the higher side because I've taken last 1 year of data. Now COVID factor will be that much diminished. The market has taken those hits. So the daily volatility in the forthcoming year might not be of this order of 1.84. If you also see the daily volatility, let's say if I look at daily volatility that we worked out for our 50 stock portfolio. Let the system come on. I'll let the file open then. Yeah. So that's I think where the disconnect will be. Let's look at what the daily volatility is as of date. If I start from March of 2019. Anyway, I'll validate or convince you on my. अच्छा अच्छा ठीक है आ गया. Yeah. So if I look at the daily volatility, let's say as of date. Sorry, file is a little heavy. That's why it's taking time. Okay. So today is 24th of, no, sorry, 30th of July. The 30th of July, this volatility number I worked out based upon D3 to D330, which is basically looking at returns all the way from 1st of April 2019. So if you look at last 1 year of data, approximately little more than that, this number is 1.77. If you keep the, you start from July of 2019 till date, the volatility is working out to the number like 1.84. So it depends upon our starting point, ending point, etc. So, Pushwa, okay, Aryan.
Yes sir, but the variation is like 3 to 4% का यहाँ पे दिख रहा है,
हाँ
right?
तो होगा यार ये perception.
So, but
market.
the multiplication factor should be like under root 252.
No, for derivatives they use 365.
Okay, so under root 365 that comes something around like something around 20, less than 20, right?
What is 20?
Yes. The square root of 365, that is the constant number, right?
Acha.
Okay, so that is the constant number. Then the variation in the daily volatility, if we are looking at the values, that is something around 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.01, 0.2, 0.02 something. So, agar
Daily
implied,
volatility is around 1.7, 2%.
so variation in the daily volatility, what I am saying. You are saying COVID की वजह से variation एकदम से large हो जाएगा, right?
हाँ, volatility ज़्यादा थी इस period में ना.
Okay, so you are saying कि 1% से सीधे 4% का jump आ गया ऐसे.
Yes.
During volatility.
Yeah. Because if you see the returns, so if I just take you to the COVID period here, you'll find a lot of red patches here.
Yes.
Okay. So if you look at, this is the period, let's say from roughly from 9th of March to 25th of March. There's hardly a security that has not changed by 7%, 10% drops, 16% drops, 10% drop, 13% drop, right across the entire. This color coding is red and amber is for the percentage drops.
Got it.
You can see that everyone has had a
the
major
negative one.
Yeah, negative side.
Got it.
Okay. So if we come back here, so basically what we are saying in this scheme is कि जो बंदे ने 640 की प्राइसिंग निकाली है, सही है गलत है दूसरी बात है, वो सोच रहा है कि भाई इतनी वॉलेटिलिटी नहीं होगी, 1.55 के आसपास होगी, 1.77 के आसपास नहीं होगी. प्लस कह रहा है कि भाई मेरा होराइजन इज नॉट कि 30th of July से मैं पूरा 24th of September तक खींचूंगा. I'll probably let's say go up to just putting a number, I think probably is first week of September, which is around 640 के आसपास चल रहा है, right? So that's how this number is worked out. Now my issues with you is the following: that how do you use this in your index, let's say as a mutual fund? How do you use this put option? Yeah. How will you use? So is everyone okay with the 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 Black-Scholes model you'll do in your derivative? So I'm not touching on that. But all that I'm saying is assume the model is on my spreadsheet and I worked out a number like 629, 640 based on some assumptions. Aage, how will you use this for the hedging? Without the arithmetic, what is the English behind the hedging process here?
So if the prices falls, then the value will. Hello.
नहीं तो आपको क्या फायदा होगा? Let's say you're a
Hello?
mutual fund manager.
Sir, I will invest this at the price of 11,500 in futures, like
नहीं ये ऑप्शन में बैठे हैं यार, पुट ऑप्शन में बैठे हैं.
अच्छा, put option.
Sir, if prices are going to decrease, then I will fix the price of 640 now because I think that it will be less in future. Then I'm going
नहीं,
to.
what is 640 का प्राइस क्या है? What is 640 की क्या bet है हमारी फिजा? What is the bet we've had?
640 will decrease.
Okay, let's say I hold it all the way to 24th of September. क्या होगा फिर? Put yourselves in the shoes of a mutual fund manager. Tell me what is your scenario? Why have you gone and bought a put option? Give me a scenario where you'll use this.
Sir,
Sir, अभी underline price कितना है sir अभी?
113.65. What is your fear? What is your anxiety? Why are you doing this? How much are you willing to pay for it? किस चीज की टेंशन है?
सर टेंशन इस बात का है कि प्राइस 11,500 ना हो जाए,
से कम हो जाए,
उससे कम रहे.
हाँ, सो इंडेक्स 11,500 से कम रहे.
हाँ,
ये टेंशन है.
हाँ.
So let us say the index falls from 11,500 to 11,000 by let's say 24th of September. तो क्या होगा आपके पोर्टफोलियो को?
तो मेरा पोर्टफोलियो को
What will happen to
if I want to sell it later, then that is why I'm fixing up 11,500 because I think the prices will go down to 11,000.
how much you willing to pay for this?
Okay, then 11,500 minus that
640.
price that will be in that
500.
24th September, and that will be my profit. And that was I am hedging in a price of 640 rupees per.
Okay, that is in case you have to square up or in case you have to take the option to its end, right?
Right.
So in case the index comes down to 11,000, so you would have sold at 11,500. You'll be asked to buy back at 11,000. So you would have gained 500 points.
500. Right.
500 points on one index option multiplied by 75. ये एक option contract बनेगा multiplied by the number of contracts. 5, 10, 15 जो भी आपने खरीदे हैं.
Right.
That will be your gain.
Yeah.
Minus the 640 into 75 into the number of lots that you would have paid for this option.
Right.
Okay. Now, hello, is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let us say I am not going to pull all this up to 24th of September. I'm going to be trading in the put option. So take another scenario now. Let's say आज की तारीख में मैंने पुट ऑप्शन खरीदा है 640 में. Okay, and come, this is call option 1 scenario. Option 2 scenario is, let us say the market has actually plummeted to 11,000. The risk-free rate, let's say, is around a number like 3.66. And 30th of August की कहानी है ये. So if 30th of August को market is already at 11,000 and 11,500 is the exercise price. Will the premium be more than 640, less than 640? What do you feel? Put option seller को tension हो रही होगी, क्या हो रही होगी? The market is at 11,000.
सर स्टॉक प्राइस बढ़ा.
स्टॉक प्राइस छोड़ो यार, इंडेक्स की बात कर रहा हूँ. 11,000 का इंडेक्स आपका.
सर कम टेंशन होगा उसको.
कैसे कम टेंशन होगा पुट ऑप्शन राइटर को? मार्केट ऑलरेडी 11,500 से
वैल्यू कम हो जाएगी.
वैल्यू कम होगी, ज्यादा बढ़ेगी?
कम होगी.
कम हो जाएगी.
बढ़ेगी. Because the tension has gone up. This is already less than 11,500. In the next 24 days, is it likely to go from 11,000 back to 11,500? Chances seem a little remote. So now this guy will start, if you look at the calculations, the independent variables have entered in yellow, and this is, my system is now throwing up a value of the put to be, let's say 697, mota 700. So जिस बंदे ने put option खरीदना है on 30th of August for 25-day maturity, and when the index is already at 11,000 for a cut of 11,500, उस बंदे को 700 रुपए देने पड़ेंगे. मैंने अभी कितना दिया? जैसे 640, 620 के 630 के आसपास. Now what I can do on the 30th of August is I can become a put option seller, sell my contract. मैंने खरीदा था 630 में, sorry, and I'm now selling it at a value of roughly 700. I would have made 70 rupees gain on this put option, multiplied by 75, multiplied by the number of contracts. So this is another way that people could be doing in terms of trading of, and that's where most of the options are traded. Again, the last few guys will end up holding the option, but all the intermediary guys, all this hop on hop off variety would have made some gain, lost some money, made some gain, lost some money, and moved on.
Okay. Sir, but it might be like that कि first and last guy was not same, so or it has to be same.
नहीं, faceless है. जिसने आप और मैंने चालू किया कहानी, आपने अजीत को बेच दी, मैंने अमरकांत को बेच दी, अमरकांत ने अमृत पांडा को बेच दी, अजीत ने अंजलि को बेच दी. ऐसे करते करते लास्ट में जाकर कहानी हमारी जाती है विवेक प्रसाद एंड योगेश रिवातकर आर द लास्ट टू गाइस.
Okay.
विवेक प्रसाद एंड योगेश रिवातकर को अपना हिसाब करना पड़ेगा whether he'll exercise the option or not exercise the option. And जैसे जैसे one of the fellow will be a call put option writer, one of the fellow will be a put option buyer, because none of the intermediary guys could have bought on their own. Somebody has to be the seller. Nobody could have sold on his own. Somebody has to be the buyer. So अर्नाब कुर्सी से उठकर गया, मैंने किसी और को बैठा दिया. मैं उठकर गया, I have to make sure somebody else sits on the seat.
Right.
Okay. So yeah.
So, but in that case, if we sell it in between, then our main motive of hedging against like price fall of our portfolio,
Yeah.
that isn't satisfied.
Perfect. So that's where the exchange says that if you are doing all this in the futures market, no, you're supposed to be only entering the call option market, put option markets from the point of view of hedging. So let's see the words used out here. Index options put on my screen. Buy index puts to hedge existing portfolio expected volatility in stock price. which means if an index has bought this guy is supposed to carry the option all the way to the end. He can't be saying कि मैंने 640 में खरीदा, चुपचाप से बेच दो यार 700 रुपए में अब. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. Give me a scenario when we'll be using buying a call option. When will we buy a call option? Buy a call option against on the index.
So when prices are likely to rise.
Yeah, when prices are likely to rise and you have cash with you. So, Fiza, if I go to index options and I'm going into okay. So index today, Fiza is at 11,913. What's your take in the next, let's say, till 24th September, almost 60 days from here? Market will go up or down?
Up.
Okay, let's market will go up. Fine, because you're a call option buyer. Are you a call option buyer or call option seller?
Buyer.
Okay. What is your strike price? 11,000?
Yes.
So अगर 11,000 पर आपने bet लेनी है, is the price already 11,913.65, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And we are looking at a 24th September maturity. And so I'm just clicking on 24th of September. Okay. So 11,000, 24th of September, the price, madam, is 462 for a call option like this. Sorry, 1 minute, 30th July. So 11,000 is the strike price. The price is 462 of this option. So, Fiza, help me understand what have we signed up on?
That if I pay 462 rupees, then I will buy it now at 11. I will buy it now at 11,000.
No, you will not buy now. You will not pay the money now. You will only pay 462.
Fix the rate. Yes.
You fix the rate.
Yes.
Okay. And what happened? And what about the dates and everything? What about 24th of September? What about 30th of July?
24th of September, if the price rises
Beyond?
11,000.
फिर क्या करोगे आप?
Sir, I'm not sure.
But then I will buy all the shares, matlab that pack, that lot.
And pay how much?
11,000.
11,000.
Yeah. So if the price is, let's say, at a number like, I'm just putting a very high number, let's say the index is at 12,000 points between now and 24th of September. Fiza or Arnab or whoever has said yes will go running to the call option buyer. कहेगा बॉस हमारी शर्त क्या थी? इसे शर्त ये थी कि 11,000 से ऊपर है, मैं आपको इंडेक्स 11,000 में दूंगा. So now let's say the index is at 12,000. So 12,000 minus 11,000, 1,000 points into 75 into the multiplier into the number of contracts will be the total money I'll make. Minus what?
462, which I have paid that day.
Minus 462 into 75 into the number of contracts that are paid today. Is that fine?
Right.
Okay. So now you see this from the index point of view. The cash market will suffer a loss because this guy will be buying the shares to enter into Adani, Asian Paints, Axis Bank, etc. He'll be buying at a higher price than what he had anticipated because the market has gone up. But that extra spend will be compensated by the gains he is making in having bought a call option. In case the market doesn't go up, वो 462 का loss हो गया उसका, and the market then of course net we'll have to again see how much is the cash versus option loss. Everyone okay? Move on.
Yes, sir.
Sir, if market goes exactly equal to the value he paid, like the 462, right? So तो उसको ना कोई profit होगा ना loss होगा.
Right. Loss होगा.
Loss क्यों होगा?
462 दे चुका ना.
462 दे चुका है और मार्केट का जो
11,000 पर क्लोज करती है.
11,000 से जो एक्स्ट्रा बढ़ा, अभी आपने बोला 12,000 अगर हुआ तो 11,000 462 पे मार्केट क्लोज हुई, राइट? तो इस केस में तो ना कोई प्रॉफिट होगा ना लॉस होगा.
वो एग्जैक्ट
मल्टीप्लायर वगैरह तो
11,000 is the deal. He has to pay 11,000. He has to buy back at, he has to sell at 12,000. So 12 minus 11 is 1,000 points into, let's say, 1 rupee multiplier into 75 into the number of contracts versus 462 into 75 into the number of contracts.
What I am saying, if it is not closed at the 12,000, it is closed at the 11,462.
Okay. हाँ तो 11,462 में 11 उसका 462 points into 75 into 1 rupee into number of contracts is a gain. He's also paid 462 into 75 into number of contracts there. So he will have a zero. ठीक है. Is that all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just to close on this, so as I think somebody just pointed out that the exchange says कि boss index future में जाना है, index future में sell करना है, करो यार. But your motive should be for hedging. Your motive should not be for this opportunistic buying and selling. So we will not allow you to trade in options, put options, call options. You can use it for the purpose of hedging only. Hedging essentially means you carry forward the contract all the way to its date of maturity. Okay, so buying the index future we had seen yesterday, selling the index future, last session, selling the index future is very similar to buying a put. Because in both the cases, your worry is that the market will come down. Buying an index future and buying a call option is again on the same thing. Your worry is that the market might race ahead, whereas the people's contribution to your fund might be a little slow. Then the exchange has put some limits. You can have 100% hedging. You can have up to 50% of the equity funding is what they're essentially saying. Are you guys okay?
Yes, sir.
So I think 2-3 more points is something we'll touch upon as we move through the course. But I think the bulk of it is already touched upon. We are okay with the process of creating an index fund. We know the issues of rebalancing. We know who are the different actors in the mutual fund industry. We know what kind of a scheme to structure, should be open-ended, closed-ended. And the strategies in terms of lazy buying and selling, we just have to do the rebalancing as and when the index constitution changes or the free float weights change. The weight changes normally happen. If they happen because of price, that's fine, because our index fund that we've created is, in terms of weightages, is enough to mimic the price changes. The index fund that we create is not enough to mimic the volume changes. Volume changes, which means we'll have to recalibrate, rebalance our entire portfolio. Okay, now the scenario that we are actually entering into now is that if you are a fund manager, like any other position, your performance will be measured. How well are you doing? How well are you doing in terms of returns is something we've already seen. So we'll say, okay, holding period returns since inception, 1 year, 3 year, 5 saal, etc. का return दिखा सकते हैं. If you're a SIP contributor, we can show how much is the return, etc. But we also have to see what the risk is and then marry the two. It's a risk return trade-off that we have to show. Now, what most funds report is always in their fund facts, etc., is only the return side. Very few guys will tell you the return commensurate with the risk. But yes, now if you see the last time, let's say if I'm looking at, okay, let's say ICICI. So he's given us some numbers like a Sharpe ratio. He's given us some numbers like a portfolio beta. But typically, the analysts who evaluate funds will look at numbers beyond this. They look at Sortino ratio, they look at information ratio, they look at Jensen index, Pharma index, and so forth. So that's the area that we are now actually getting into. And we'll get into this by looking at this case on Thomson. I'll mark the slides across to you later. Okay, so we're looking at this case Thomson, and the primary purpose of doing this case is the following. One is we come face to face with the financial services, wealth management business. We have to solicit for business because that's our major job. Second is, it's just not calculation of numbers that are important. It's also the art of presenting those numbers, how to play around with certain numbers, how not to tell some numbers, how to defend certain numbers, and how to go about using these numbers in terms of pitching to institutional clients. So that's the second purpose that I've got here. One, of course, is to see a wealth management business. The other is to fine tune the art of talking numbers. Then certain numbers may be good, certain numbers may be bad. How do you leverage using these performance metrics? The third objective of this exercise of this case is, how do we go about understanding the client's needs? What does the client want? Let's go talk to him. Let's understand what he's got, and then decide कि भाई उसको ये size का portfolio देना है, इस type का portfolio देना है कि नहीं देना है, right? And all this will then converge into something called as contracting. There'll be a contract that will be signed between Thomson and the endowment fund, etc., which is called as an investment policy statement, IPS. So this investment policy statement will essentially capture all the things that the fund manager and the client have agreed upon. So what I've suggested to the two groups is that we do some kind of a role play where one group goes and talks about their company, behaves like Thomson Asset Management. They talk to the client, and the client shares what is his objective, why is he keen on, what kind of an objective is he, what kind of a business is he looking at from Thomson. Okay, so that's basically the purpose here. So I think let's start with the second group, Thomson Asset Management. And the group here is, okay, Fiza, your team. Who are the guys there in your group?
Yes, sir, we are there. Anshul, please present. Sir, Anshul.
Yeah, I'll make sure everyone has to open their mouth. Huh? So just Anshul ne muh khol liya, baki
No,
logon ne
sir.
muh nahi khola, Anshul.
Sir, I'm telling you, please stop sharing your screen. So she'll be sharing her screen.
Okay.
I'm not able to share the screen since you have disabled.
Sure, I'll do it. So I'm stopping my screen share. And I've done that. Next is Fiza, who's presenting, you said?
Sir,
Anshul.
me.
Anshul is presenting.
Presenting, Yash.
नाम कहाँ है? Anshul Maheshwari.
Yes.
So Anshul, I'm making you co-host. Is that the way you'll end up sharing your screen? Huh?
So I think there's an option where multiple people can share the screen without making.
They have to create a group or something. But anyway, I can see your screen now. And
The screen
can
visible.
everyone,
Yes.
Actually, just one more minute. Just let me get my documents ready. Just 1 second. Yeah, so. Yeah, so Anshul, Aryan, Isha, Fiza, and Shena. That's a group.
Yes, sir.
Okay, chalo start it.
Okay.
And is the other group ready? Client
Yes,
ready
sir.
hai ki nahi hai? Peter
Yes,
Landman.
sir. Yes, sir. We are ready.
Let me just see who are the guys there. Peter Landman में है. Ankol, Lakshay, Ruchi, Snehanshu, and Sumit.
Yes, sir.
You guys are all there?
Yes, sir.
Chalo, sorry, start.
So we have a pro index fund and we would suggest Peter Landman to invest their money in our fund because of the numbers that we have achieved in a period of 5 years. So Anshul, please open exhibit 4. Okay, please. Okay. So you can see our holding period return is 300.06% and the benchmark return is 104.63%. So over a period of 5 years, which means that if you would have invested rupees 100 with us in 2009, by the end of 2013, you would have got somewhere around 400 rupees, which is 200% more than the benchmark return. So it is highly profitable to invest in our fund. Then if you are not interested in holding for such a long period, then you can see our annualized return. It is also double the benchmark return. So the benchmark return is 15.40% and it's almost double. So we are giving an annualized return of 32.15%. Then also our securities is 65.11% correlated to the benchmark index. Basically, we and the benchmark index are 65.11% similar. Then you can have a look at our beta value, which shows that how much our return is volatile as compared to market return. So our value is very near to 1, which means that our portfolio's volatility is in alignment with market volatility. Then have a look at the covariance. Okay, so you can see that our covariance is positive, which means that our index is moving in the same direction with S&P index. So if their returns will increase, our return will also increase. So you shouldn't worry that if you'll be investing there, you'll get much return and their return will increase or our return will decrease. If their return will increase, our portfolio will move in the same direction and our return will also increase. And also our Sharpe ratio is greater than 1, which means that the extra return that you're getting by investing in our securities and not in the risk-free security, and the risk that you're bearing by investing in our security. So if you compare the extra return and the extra risk, the return is more than the risk, and this is shown by the number greater than 1. So if you compare with the benchmark also, ours is much higher than the benchmark. So it is very profitable to invest with us. And you can see that we have chosen a good securities in which the risk is less and the returns are more. And if you also our tenor ratio is better than the benchmark, which means that the extra return over the risk-free return in comparison to market risk is also higher in our index as compared to benchmark index. Now Fiza will explain.
Adding on to that, Jensen's alpha is a ratio, it's a term metric which we identify. It is positive for those index funds where the return you're getting is more than the risk that you're incurring. So as an investor, obviously you want that your return is greater And our return and risk difference is almost along 0.16, which is positive, which means our return is much greater than the risk you will be incurring. Also, the daily tracking error, every investor wants to minimize it, and we have a very minimal value of 1.45%. And lastly, the Sortino ratio. I know as an investor, you will be interested in, you are incurring risk by investing in a mutual fund, but the risk is positive and negative. And as an investor, you would be interested in the negative part. So the Sortino ratio takes into account only the negative risk that you're incurring. So considering only the negative risk also, our return is much higher, which is 118%. So this is why I think you should invest in our Pro Index fund.
Peter Landman, Jago yaar.
Ah, sir.
Hello.
Sir, can we present now? I mean, we have prepared 2 documents as well.
So you present to them and then chalo present, yeah.
So Anshul, if you can remove, yeah, okay.
And I have to make whom the co-host now?
Yes, sir.
Sumit.
Sumit
Kumar.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Sumit.
Yes, sir. Yeah, is my screen visible, sir?
Yes, sir. To me at least.
Yeah. Hi, Thompson Asset Management Group. So actually, we would like to just begin from the start point of how we are going to plan our endowment and what we are expecting from the fund we are going to invest in your scheme. So the first of all, we would like to invest in a donor restricted endowment scheme wherein we will try to hold the principal in a perpetuity, and we would like to have the earnings from the invested assets expended as per a donor as per a specification. So with respect to that, I'd like to point out some few sources in which we'll be spending this investment income which we'll be getting from your scheme. Some of them will be in our institutional missions, operations of the university, long-term and university programs. There will be also financial aids that will be given to the students in terms of scholarships and fellowships and financial shares as well. And from there on, we'll move to the next point where we are expecting a bit of returns from this investment. But we all know that we want to invest around $20 million, with your with TAM, which we have received in as a gift for equity investments further. So we are expecting a year-on-year required return of 30% on the assets under management. But again, we have a condition on that wherein we expect that the total return that we get from the endowment should not exceed the complete sum of the spending rate, our spending rate, the investment expenses which you will levy on us, and also the inflation rate, which is the customer price index, including that. Along with this, because we are trying to put things into a perpetuity kind of a term, which will be obviously a long term. So there is a high chance that these periods will be extraordinarily high, and there will be a lot of volatility that will be happening. That also needs to be looked into. Apart from that, we also have certain interest and debt expenses in other banks. So we'll also need 5% of the net assets invested, so that from the income we receive from it, we can put it in the interest or debt for the other banks. So in all, we will need a 30% plus a 5% as well as an additional thing. Apart from that, because what we expect is a lot of return, because it's 30%, so you will have to manage your funds a lot more efficiently. So probably you might put out an administration fee of more than 10% to us, which will again be a costly investment for us. So we will want you to just minimize that administration fee up to 10%, so that you also can run your levels of expectations as per the index changes in the mutual funds, and then we can also have the subsequent profit in that. Apart from that, we have also worked out on the Excel sheet, which was in the exhibits totally. So we have tried to figure out a few parameters which you had discussed just now: the correlation factor, the beta factor, the Sharpe ratio, the Trainer ratio, Jensen alpha, and everything. So we have tried to reduce a bit of some things from it. So first of all, the first thing which we would like to mention is that you mentioned that the correlation of yours is around 0.65. I mean, 65%. I mean, more or less equal to 0.65 correlation. But as we know that we can figure out that it doesn't quite maintain the required value of minimum, that the correlation should be at least greater than equal to 0.7, because this again suggests that if the correlation value of your complete pro index fund is more than 0.7, it easily denotes that the index fund is not like it's mimics the S&P fund if it's more than 0.7, but it is not so. So again, like if we try to invest in pro index, it won't be like that feasible, because like there is a high probability that like although we might get the returns, but it will be highly inappropriate in several other terms in terms of risk. Apart from that, we have also the Sharpe ratio, which I think my colleague Laksh will also try to explain to you, and also the beta part.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So your fund is giving the Sharpe ratio of 0.73, and we are expecting up to the level of 0.8 and higher. So that if your fund is giving that much of return, it's obvious that you are putting so many risks to it. If we are expecting risk from your fund and not getting that much of portfolio return, that would not be adequate for our investment. And as per the beta value, you are giving the beta value of 1 point. What is it written? Can you
1.04 is 1.014.
Yeah, 1.014, and it shows that your securities price is theoretically more volatile than the market. So owing to which the returns of fund is not as per the S&P index, means that your that risk you are putting in the fund is not increasing, not getting a return with the benchmark returns. So the scheme would have if the scheme would have the beta of less than 1, that would be appreciable, and we would accept the fund.
And Laksh, you can also explain that mid cap segment.
Also, we have exercised some of the Also, we have exercised some of the investment parameters, like if we invest in the stock, that $20 million, if we invest from our side in the stocks that you have mentioned, Atmos Energy Corp and CNO Financial Holding Groups, and if we see the price in 2009, ATU stands for $23.95, and in 2013, that is giving 35. And according to the market cap, we have distributed them into the weightage and how we are investing that fund. So as per the weightage, we have divided and getting a return of 36%, considering the probable risk in 2013 in 4 years term period.
Okay, after this we have this ratio as well. So where you have tried to like put the other parameters also, as you explained, the Turner ratio and as well as the information ratio as well. So with Turner ratio, what I would suggest you is, because I mean we are not very sure like how, like with what you are comparing the Turner ratio with. Now Turner ratio is something where you need to compare one scheme with other scheme. Now if we are going for some other scheme which has a higher Turner ratio than yours, then we'll have to prefer that, because it clearly denotes that the fund is performing very well there. So that is how we compare a Turner ratio with respect to a different scheme, with respect to a different asset management company. And apart from that, there is this information ratio as well, which is 0.74. And as we're investing for a long period of time, like for growing perpetuity, we expect the information ratio to be at least near around 1. So with being near around 1, what will happen is, like, because 1 is really rare, which we could find out. So even if it is at least 0.9 or 0.85 somewhere, then I think the index fund will outperform the benchmark for higher duration, because we are trying to keep this principal and everything for a longer duration. So probably improvement of information ratio will also help us to invest our money into your pro index fund or product portfolio. I think we have that much to say. If someone has anything else to say, they can contribute.
Yeah, just both Peter Landman. पहले you have to ask some questions. Question 2-3 पूछो बस. Top 2-3 questions from these guys about whatever. In case you have to give them money.
Yes. Can you give us the comparison between other funds, like how if we could have invested in other funds, what would be our investment would be? How your is performing better than others?
Okay.
We've shown the performance with relation to the benchmark index because that is the main indicator which investors really want. Others and how ours is better than that.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Ankur, you're audible.
I want to ask from the management company, like, can they also show their past history, like how they have performed for the other clients and what are the reviews? Obviously, you will not show the reviews of the clients, but at least what have you done in the past and how can we trust on you, because we have a very huge amount of money and we want to invest the whole of our money with you. So we really need some good answers or some good points from you.
Also, we would want to ask the
company. Excel, I guess. So our question should be based on the ratios which we have presented. If you have any questions about that, there is no comparative study with other funds in market involved here in this particular case as such.
But at least you can compare with yourself now. Like for the A client, you have done that. Now B, you have improved in that sense, and for C, you will do that further. Because these ratios, though, we have also calculated, so we can.
You can give us a competitors whom you are looking forward to invest in, so we can present it.
I am asking about only your data.
We did show the Shaina. We did show the stock option we would want to invest in. We're getting a return of 36%. That ways we want to know that the way it is mentioned. In the case itself that we have other options also for investment. So we want to know what return will we get if we invest in yours compared to the stock options we have.
The return, actually we showed it. I don't know, Anshul can tell you how much return you're offering for an annual basis. One thing that I would like to point out, beta, you were asking that you want a beta which is less than 1. A beta less than 1 actually indicates that the market is less volatile, that our index fund is less volatile as compared to the market. And greater than 1 indicates that it is much more volatile. But our beta is almost equal to 1, which is the like moving according to how the market is performing.
Also, they were talking about the information ratio, that they wanted the information ratio to be greater than 1. But as per the data, overall, on an average, if the range varies from 0.61 to 1, it is considered as a great investment. And ours was actually 0.74. So it is already a great investment opportunity for any firm to invest in this portfolio.
I think a great investment opportunity is between 0.4 to 0.6. For longer periods, it's near around 1.
So we want to say that the range from 0.4 to 0.6 is for a good investment. But when it varies between 0.61 to 1, it is a great investment. So ours is actually lying in a better ratio already.
Okay. Yeah. I'll just break you guys thought on this. Okay. Sumit, finish.
Yeah, and also we had, because we have a lot of expenditures in place also, which we are trying to put into from the returns that we get or from the investment income that we get. You can see that the returns in 2010 and 2011 have just dwindled a bit from 14 to 11, from 17, and suddenly it has increased 72. So in this case, if we wanted a return, like if you assure us, let's say if you assure us that we are going to give you a return of 30, so how are you going to assure us that it will be 30 only and it won't decline? Because any decline in the return will lead us to incur other costs, because we are expending many things upon the students and fellowships and many other programs at our college. So you'll have to ensure that the returns remain constant, mostly constant throughout the period.
Also, we want to know about the correlation part, that the way if we spend like in S&P 500 where it is growing at 1 rupee, if we invest in the Pro Index, it'll match it up to 65% only, it'll increase up to 0.65. So how are you going to incorporate that also, that there is less difference between the Pro Index fund and the S&P 500 fund?
Okay.
If we take into account the Sumit's question, that ours was fluctuating, and so if we see the pattern over there of the like 5-year period, so our ratios, our profit was going as per the market trend only, and that was also higher than the market returns. It's there in Exhibit 2.
And there are some of the factors like we cannot avoid in the market. So our return is anyway better than the S&P 500 index. Even they are decreasing, so we are decreasing, but we are better than them in every year. You can check that.
Okay, guys, just let's take a break on this. We'll come back to the numbers. And Sumi, just leave your screen on the way it is.
Yes.
Isha, if I were just to ask you, if you were to start the meeting, is there a better emotional way to connect rather than start with the numbers straight away? सीधे ही आपने होल्डिंग पीरियड रिटर्न मेरा इतना है, 300% है, 100% है, वो चालू कर दिया. Is there when you start the meeting, on a meeting like this, especially, what is the first thing that you need to do is establish some kind of an emotional connect? And what is the emotional connect that you could have done first?
Sir, yeah, I'm sorry on that, but we
No, it's okay. I'm just joking, but
I should have greeted them, and like I'm from the same college. Like I have graduated from the same college, so I could have talked a little bit about the college. So it would have been an emotional connect, and they would have had a better trust on me.
Yeah, right. So just do it now. Let's hear that. How would you say you've been? Pleasure coming back to the Yarma Meter. I'm coming back after so many years. कुछ कहानी बनाओ जल्दी से. Yeah, word, Isha.
Okay. So hello everyone. So I am Thompson, and I have passed out from the same college, and actually it feels great. Like I'll be taking care of the investment of yours, and I'll assure you, like, this is my own college. So I believe that you have shown us, like, I have talked with the director that you are thinking of giving scholarships or maybe some good investments. So I assure you that the returns would be great, and it feels great to meet you all.
Okay. Yeah. So I think true. So I think the point I'm just trying to highlight is that, see, when you're going for any sales pitch, etc., just make sure that the emotional connect is there first. Okay, the numbers, etc., can be tailored separately, but the important thing is that you first establish that the purpose that you come is with an emotional reason also. That you want to manage, it'll be a pleasure to manage the funds of my alma mater. It's a pleasure seeing all of you again after so many years, and blah, blah, blah. Okay? So that's, I think, important first that you need to have. Second is that, see your group, just think of what are the first few questions you need to ask them. Rather than start your presentation, you need to get the customer talking on what his needs are first. So what kind of questions will you ask? And then after that, start responding, saying, okay, yes, we've had this kind of a return, and start the conversation from that point of view. So what are those few leading questions, let's say 2 or 3 top questions you're likely to ask them after your introduction? You also introduce your team, that so-and-so is from my client management team. He'll be the marketing. He's a relationship manager. He's been handling these accounts. That's the second thing that you need to do. Okay. Batao, Isha, Fiza, and the others in your group. What are the lead questions you're likely to ask without the numbers first?
So we or them?
You.
The first question we'll ask is what are they expecting from their investment? What is the first thing in their mind?
No, first thing should be that wherever you got the money from, where has this endowment come? How do you plan to use this endowment? What are your goals on this? Check. Start from there.
Won't it be rude, like asking where did you get this money from?
I mean, yeah. So where has this? I mean, so I understand from the last talk that we had that you're looking at an endowment. So yeah, endowments are normally not hidden. Some, let's say, some alumni has contributed some amount of money. So, or you can say like this: it's good to have received information that you guys have got a sizable endowment. how do you plan to use it? How typically, how does the endowment look like? So what are those few initial questions you'll ask them after your emotional connect? And you've introduced your team, assuming that.
What kind of return are you looking for on an annual basis?
नहीं, return कम नहीं होगा. Oh, that's, I mean.
Sir, maybe in past where you have invested and how much return you are getting from there and how much you are expecting from us.
For how long are you planning to invest this money?
A time horizon is something you need to look at. Fine, you guys are mentioning the returns side. Okay. So, for example, the other side, Thompson's asset, the university side, college side, Ankul, Lakshya, Ruchi, Snehanshu, ये endowment क्या होता है?
कोई पैसा देता है मतलब कॉलेज के लिए, लाइक एलुमनाई वगैरह या फिर गिफ्ट वगैरह.
नहीं, अगर संबलपुर को endowment मिलेगा, उससे क्या होगा? How does it work?
एक टाइप का डोनेशन होता है, हो सकता है.
हाँ, एक टाइप का डोनेशन होता है. So let us say स्नेहांशु ने बाद में, let's say 20 साल बाद he goes back to Sambalpur and says, I'm now giving an endowment. So स्नेहांशु कैसे दोगे आप? How does this endowment work?
maybe with help of like checks वगैरह, कंपनी के अकाउंट, कॉलेज के अकाउंट में.
अच्छा, ठीक है. तो ये वापस भी मांगोगे कैसे? और you'll define some goals कि भाई ऐसे से यूज करना, ऐसे नहीं यूज करना.
So a lot of time alumni come back to the college and they provide donations to them, and a lot of times they even tell the purpose, like if they want the auditorium to be renovated or do they want it to be spent on the technical advancement of the teaching or something like that, or do they want to give scholarship to the students.
Yeah, so see, so that's where, yeah, so if Snehanshu or somebody comes and donates money, then sometimes it might be laissez-faire in the sense that you can use it for whatever you want, is your thing. Or you can say that we want the endowment principle should remain the same, and whatever interest that you earn on this should be used for academic purposes, should be used for infrastructure purposes, should be used for subsidizing needy students and so forth. Right? So that's typically what the need is. And if you just take a look at, I'm just putting up, this is the Harvard annual report in front. Sorry, my screen isn't shared, but I'll just do that. Okay, so can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir, we can see.
So this is, let's say, a typical net profit or a profit and loss statement of, let's say, Harvard. If I'm just picked on Harvard, Harvard has one of the biggest endowments in the world, in the university side, or rather is the biggest. So they've got an operating revenue. Part of the revenue comes from student income. Then they've got some government support coming from state governments, central governments, etc. Then they've got some money which is coming from the gift. And if you now see endowment returns made available for operations. So some part of so there's an endowment fund. That endowment fund is generating some returns from investments. And the returns that have gone through the P&L is something like, let's say, $339 million. Okay. So this is essentially going to be contributing to the revenue stream of the university. And then from this, they'll run up their OPEX budget. There'll be salaries and wages, etc., to be paid. And some part of this endowment might be earmarked for a CapEx purchase. It might be for, let's say, a building construction or auditorium, as somebody mentioned, etc. Now, these endowments are big businesses. It's not a small business. Managing Harvard, it's a professional job. And if you just see this is, I'm just showing you the September 26th annual endowment report. So in 2016, this number was close to about $35 billion. And the latest numbers, so with this money, then the money goes around getting invested in all kinds of asset classes. The public equity, private equity, into hedge funds, into real estate, into natural resources, some portion into bonds, again into real estate, some portion kept as cash. So this is how the 100% of the allocation has taken place here. Now from this allocation, a certain return is generated, and on an average is generating around 6.5% return. But Peter Landman and company 30% मांग रही है. Okay. So you can also see how individual allocations have some are performed, some are not performed. For example, investment in natural resources. It could be wood, it could be oil, it could be, let's say, shale gas or something. Or this business has not generated the kind of return that they're looking at. And whereas private equity around 16. Now this job will be allocated to Thomson, or a part of it might be allocated to Thomson. So are we okay with this? So I'm just highlighting first and foremost, start with an emotional connect. Start with some questions to understand what the client's requirements are, and then start pitching in terms of your performance. Your performance should be qualified by saying, yes, I think we should be in a position to manage your money. And in the past, we've done this kind of a performance. And of course, the client will also keep on asking questions from you. So if I just look at the college, the Thomson Associate side, Isha and company, you guys should have introduced your company first. What's the size of your company? How much of assets under management do you have? What kind of products do you have? There's nothing to do with the client, but just introduce yourself on some of these issues, right? And the client that you're looking at is an important client for you, because abhi aapka business is approximately $80 million. Agar ye banda aapke haath lag gaya, he's going to give you how much money?
So 20 million.
20 million. So you'll automatically have approximately a 25% jump in the assets under management, right? So he's an important client for you, and it's important that you understand his needs, understand what he's expecting before you actually start putting in your performance, etc. So you should have said, for example, let's say started with saying that we've been in this business for so many years. Number of years is important. We've had so much of assets under management with us. These are two kinds of products that we've got. We've got an index ETF called as, let's say, the Pro Value, Pro Index, sorry, and we've also got another portfolio called as a Pro Value Fund. Right? Are we fine on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let's see the return picture, which is what Isha started off with. Yeah. So I think that's this is a good way. First, I think a lot of times, and the way she started off with things good, that people talk about the absolute return first. Absolute return would mean that, and she said it also rightly, that we've given a return of 300%, which is like having grown the money 4 times. So this is the art of talking numbers. See, when you say, when 300% is same thing as 4 times, but which sounds bigger?
4 times.
4 times, right? So that's the right way of putting these numbers, saying that, okay, that we've, the holding period return has been around 300%, which is the same, which is like we've grown the money 4 times over the last 4 times since our funds have started. Whereas the index has just grown by double, or 100% return. Are we fine on this, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this holding period return, as she said, is only looking at the starting value and the end value. So all that we've done from Exhibit 1, holding period return, is we've just taken on 2 values. So on 31st of December, let's say 2013, the Pro Index fund was at 4.03. And if I go back in time, to the 1st of January 2009, it was, let's say, 1 rupee. So 1 rupee NAV has grown to 4, which is a 300% return, or something like 4 times growth in terms of our investment. So is everyone okay with the understanding of holding period return? Anyone having an issue? Now, what the issue with the holding period return of 4x or 300% is that it is not in a position to tell us where all have we meandered. I ended up with 4 on 31st of December. I could well have ended up with 6 also somewhere in between. I could well have ended up with 8 also somewhere in between. But all those numbers are getting bypassed and we just start looking at the end period and the beginning period. Then what she did was that she converted that annualized return, converted the holding period return into an annualized return. So the 300%, I think she said, is 32.5 or something, and I think I've seen the spreadsheet also that is correct. So this, iska batao kaise aaya ye, this 32.5 quickly, Isha, anyone else in your group?
So this is from like 2009 to the date which is given. Hello. Okay, so this is from the exhibit 2. It is from 2009 to 2013. And in the exhibit 1, when we calculated that the pro-index return, so there the annualized return which we calculated from 2009 to till now is that's the 32 point, this one. So because there the daily average return is given.
ठीक है, तो 32 का मतलब समझा दो. What does 32 mean?
32 okay, 32 का मतलब ये है कि 2009 से अभी तक आज की वैल्यू तक मतलब आप अगर पैसा लगाओगे तो हम आपको मान लो आपने 100 रुपए लगाए आज, तो आपको एक साल बाद 32 मतलब 132 रुपए मिलेंगे, फिर उसके अगले साल उसी 132 पे फिर से 32% और बढ़ जाएगा ऐसे.
So basically every year, each year you'll get an annualized return of 32.542%.
Okay. Yeah, so Arnab, you're right in the sense that this is as if we are going to compound your money over the 5 years at the rate of 32% year on year. So अगर आपने $100 या 100 रुपए आज लगाए, अगले साल will convert to 132, पर हम आपको पैसा नहीं देंगे, 132 फिर reinvest कर देंगे, 132 पर फिर आपने 32% कमाया, ऐसे करते करते 5 साल में आपका पैसा would have gone 4 times, which is like a 300% return. Are you okay with this? Is this 32% an arithmetic mean return, or is this a CAGR number?
So it is CAGR.
Yes, it is not the arithmetic mean for every year. Again, I'm highlighting this 32% is an as if number. It is not telling me year on year, in between the year 1 to year 5, did I actually hit this kind of a 132 number, right? So now again, let's see how do you play with this number. Isha or somebody can say, देखो market में 16% year on year दिया, हमने double दिया है हर साल. यहाँ बोलोगे मार्केट ने 5 साल में आपका पैसा दुगना किया है. Our fund has done 4 time growth. Now you would be subtle in this. You don't. I mean, guys on the other side will also be smart enough to realize that you're playing with some numbers, but you do it in a subtle way so that you just. I mean, as if in a conversation you're saying, we have grown the money 4 times and delivered a return of 300% year on year, or 32% year on year, whereas the stock market at the same time has grown about 16. But whenever people don't remember this 16 and 32, people will remember कि उन्होंने दुगना किया 4 times किया. That is a little easier number for people to follow. Okay. Last on this before we go for a break, then what is the arithmetic mean return on a daily basis for you? Have you got that number?
Sir, average of the returns that we are getting daily.
Yeah, who said this? Yeah, sorry.
Sir, Isha.
Isha, huh?
Sir, average of the returns that we are getting. So it is not an as if number. We are actually taking the average of the total returns that we are getting.
So इसमें आपने function क्या लगाया? You worked out. If you can see my screen, tell me what all you've done here.
Sir, it is actually the mean. So from
you part of the same group.
Yes.
Yes, sir. He's part of the same group.
Who is he? Aryan?
Yes.
No, who's talking here? Aryan.
Aryan,
bolo.
Hello.
Yeah,
Okay, so it is the pro index return which we calculated in the exhibit 1. So this is the average of from this the number 3, the E3 to last.
Okay, so if I take a simple arithmetic average, I just say average of this entire thing. Now, what is this average is telling me? This is, so if you see my table on the right hand side, this is indicating that the average for the pro index is 0.129%. तो आर्यन 0.12 का मतलब समझा दो जल्दी से.
Okay, so डेली रिटर्न अगर आपने 100 रुपए आज लगाए हैं तो कल आपके उस 100 रुपए में 0.129% इंक्रीमेंट होगा, फिर उसके अगले दिन जो अमाउंट आया उस पे 1.129.
नहीं
डेली रिटर्न.
ये एवरेज है, उस पर
सर एवरेज में ये हो रहा है 0.129. देयर आर फ्लक्चुएशंस बट ऑन एन एवरेज बेसिस 0.129% का इंक्रीमेंट हो रहा है डेली रिटर्न में.
नहीं, एक दिन 16 भी हुआ होगा, एक दिन माइनस भी हुआ होगा.
Yes sir, but on an average basis.
On an average. 13 पैसा मैं हर रोज का कमा रहा हूँ on an average basis. एक दिन मैंने 20 पैसे भी कमाए, एक दिन मैंने 50 पैसा भी कमाया, बट एवरेज अगर आप देखोगे लास्ट 5 साल मैंने आपको 13% हर रोज का दिया है. अब ये मत करना कि मैंने आज आपको, अगर आपने 100 रुपए लगाया, कल आपका 100 रुपीज 13 पैसा हो जाएगा, परसों आपका 100 रुपीज 13 पैसा का 13 पैसा हो जाएगा, फिर वो गलत रूट पर चल रहे हैं हम. अगले दिन कुछ और भी हो सकता है. It could be plus minus, but all that we are saying is the metric on an average across 5 years of data is approximately 13 paisa daily.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's take a break here. Sorry for holding you up on this. So we'll start at 4:17. It's 4:02, and we'll carry on from here. resume recording कर दिया, चलो. Okay, so we were discussing this business of returns, holding period returns, how to spin the numbers this way, that way to make them sound bigger sometimes. Also the limitations around these numbers. So if I now look at the arithmetic, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we work out a simple arithmetic average of my daily returns. I come up with an arithmetic mean return on a daily basis. So I can call it as, let's say, DAM, daily arithmetic mean, which is around 0.064, whereas it's close to 13 paisa or 0.129 in the case of the Pro Index Fund. I multiply these numbers by 252, and this is how I'm analyzing them at 32.5 and at 16.24. Now, when Isha was presenting her numbers, she used the number 32.15%, which is she taken the fifth root of 303%. Am I right, Isha? Isha is not here, or is she? She isn't here. Okay. China.
Yes, sir.
हाँ तो ये आपने 303% का fifth root लिया -1 करके, you got some number from the holding period return.
Yes, sir.
So what is the difference between the arithmetic mean that I have worked out and the arithmetic mean, let's say, you worked out from the holding period return?
The annualized return and the average mean, arithmetic mean, you're asking the difference between the two.
Yeah, the one that you worked out from the holding period and the one that I worked out right now from the daily average.
Sir, the one which we worked out from the holding period return, that's a CAGR, and since like it's a compounding thing, or and the other one is a simple arithmetic mean. So the difference is geometric mean and arithmetic mean, I would say.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and would you get a standard deviation around the geometric mean or the CAGR?
No.
No. Perfect. Would you get an average around the arithmetic mean? Would you get a standard deviation around the arithmetic mean? Sorry.
No.
Arithmetic mean में भी आपको average नहीं मिलेगा?
Sir, yes.
Yes, you'll get an average around the arithmetic mean.
Yes.
China. Okay, so that's the advantage of the arithmetic mean, is that we tend to use that a little more often, is because it throws up a standard deviation. The geometric mean, holding period returns, CAGR, whatever you want to call them, those don't throw up a standard deviation because they're taking and assuming a constant 32, 32, 32 every year. So you'll never come to know that.
Yes.
Okay, here we are looking at an average return of around 32.5 annualized, and we get a standard deviation of around 1.9% on a daily basis. Is that fine?
No, we are getting 0.129% on a daily basis, and standard deviation is the difference which we generally see between the returns.
Yeah, you're getting 0.129 on a daily basis, but ये average हुआ, इसके इरद गिरद कितना चल रहा है?
1.9% का difference.
On a daily basis.
Yes, sir.
So there's a day it could be 0.129 plus 1.9.
Yes.
There's also a day where it could be 0.129 minus 1.9.
Yes, sir.
Is that fine?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so let's just stop on this daily standard deviation, daily variance, and we've analyzed this into annualized standard deviation by multiplying it by the root of 252. Why do we multiply it by root of 252? Why not just multiply it by 252?
So it's something to do with the standard deviation formula only. That they take the square root.
Root 10.
So standard deviation means like root over of variance. So maybe of that.
Yeah, true. So you can add up variances. You can't add up the standard deviations. So you can't say ki my standard deviation today is 1.9, for 252 days it will be 1.9 into 252. But you convert it into a variance. Variances can be added up, and then you can take the root of 252 after that. So 1.9 per day converts into 30% per year, right? So I'm just going across into exhibit 2, and let's see how do we use these numbers. So this is simple. I'm just moving away from the daily formula into the yearly formulas. So the return that on a yearly basis, beginning of 2009 to end of 2009 was 56%. Beginning of 2010 to end of 2010 was 14%. Beginning of 2011, end of 2011 was 11%, and like this for up to 2013. Now, if I have to work out a cumulative return based on these 5 data points, how do I work it out?
Add them.
56 plus 14 plus 11 plus 17 plus 72. No.
No, so we'll take some amount, and every year this has to, like, the percentage change has to be accounted for. So first year, if we started with 100, then it will be 156. Then over that, it's 14%, and then 11%, like that.
Okay. Yeah. So Shaina, you're right. We'll have to start with some monetary numbers. Let us say, अगर Shaina ने ₹1 pro index में लगाया था in 2009, it would have become 1.56, 156%. Correct?
Right.
Next year should have earned 14% on the 156. It'll become 178. Next year should have earned 178 plus 11%, become 199. Then 199 she'll earn another 17%, become 233, and 233 should have earned 72%, become 4003. So this is how the 100 rupee investment at the beginning of 2009 would have converted into 403. We should have converted into 303% holding period return. Are you guys okay?
Yes, sir.
Absolute return would be 4x or 400%. The holding period return would be 300%. We are ignoring the fact that this is 5 years of data. We're just looking at the starting and the end. Okay. Now, how do I work out the mean return over with these 5 data points? I'm taking a simple average. So if you just see my screen here, I'm just taking an average of B4 to B8. We're coming up with an arithmetic mean return of 34. And likewise for Standard & Poor, we're looking at 15.85. इसी 5 data points का मैंने standard deviation भी ले लिया. I just use the standard deviation function B4 to B8. And we're now looking at 28% and 11% here. Now, the second Thompson group, which is Kizan and Company, I want you guys to use these two numbers, 28% and 34%. Use, let's say, 10,000 rupees. And use 10,000 rupees, use 28% and 34% in your sentence. And to make a conversation, make a sales pitch. So just 3 numbers should be part of your story. 28%, 34%, 10,000 rupees.
Okay, sir. So if you are investing like 10,000 rupees for a period of 5 years, so yearly maybe you'll get around 3,400 rupees profit return, and the return may vary by around 2,800 rupees. Like 2800 रुपए ज्यादा भी हो सकता है, कम भी हो सकता है.
नहीं पहला ठीक था, 3,400 rupees ठीक है.
Like
3,400 भी sentence complete नहीं है.
सर 34
हाँ जी आर्यन सर.
हाँ तो 3,400 का 28% कम ज्यादा हो सकता है, राइट? सर
Anyone? How do you use 28 and 34?
सर 34% is basically कि अगर हमने 10,000 रुपए लगाए तो हमें हर साल 34% रिटर्न मिलेगा, मतलब फर्स्ट ईयर पे 3400 रिटर्न मिला, नेक्स्ट ईयर पे उसका जो अमाउंट आया उसका 34% मिलेगा, इस तरह से।
नहीं,
लेकिन
28 कहाँ यूज कर रहे हो?
नहीं, तो आगे आ रहा हूँ ना नेक्स्ट सेंटेंस, पहले रिटर्न के बारे में बता रहा था। तो नाउ इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन, सो बेसिकली जो हमारे वैल्यू आ रही है, मतलब 13,400, ठीक, तो इस पे ये जो वेरिएशन होगा, इसमें ये वही 28% का ओवरऑल वैल्यू का वेरिएशन होगा, राइट?
28% 10,000 पर वेरी कर रहा है या 13,400 पर कर रहा है या 34% का वेरिएशन है?
पूरे पे वेरी 10,000 पे वेरी करेगा ये।
नहीं, आपने स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन किसका निकाला?
सॉरी,
34% maybe
34%, 13,400 जो आया उसकी वैल्यू वेरी कर सकती है, 28% तो
नहीं,
28% ऊपर नीचे।
नहीं सर,
नेगेटिव रिटर्न भी आ सकता है ना
सर 3400 रुपए का 28% वेरी कर सकता है, क्योंकि हम लोग रिटर्न का स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन
10,000 पे ही करेगा, 10,000 पे ही करेगा। 34 प्लस 28% हो सकता है, 34 माइनस 28% हो सकता है।
हाँ, अब शैना नंबर बताओ, 38 प्लस 34 कितना हुआ?
62।
ठीक है, सो नाउ 62% एंड यू सेड 34 में से 28 माइनस किया, कितना हुआ?
6.
14%, 6%, correct?
6%.
Plus minus 1, you've done. Now what you need to do, Shaina, is make a sentence with 6%, 62%, 10,000 and 34%.
Okay.
And
so
you're talking to a
fund-
layman. You're talking to a layman. The guy doesn't know what mean is, what standard deviation is. उसको सिर्फ अपना पैसा से मतलब है.
Okay. So basically we are offering a fund. So if you invest 10,000 in it, so on an average we give you around 3,400 rupees return every year. In a worst case scenario, let's say market is doing really bad, so we minimum offer you 6,000 rupees as a return on your 10,000 rupees. No, 6%. Yeah.
It's 600.
Yeah, 600. And maximum we are giving you around
600. मेरा, I mean 9,940 rupees पैसा गायब कर दोगे आप? क्या बोल रहे हो?
नहीं, it's the return which we are providing above your 10,000. Your 10,000 are totally safe with us. It's not going negative anyway. So minimum 600 rupees return मिलेगा, and maximum it can go till up till 6,200 rupees return.
तो आप मुझे बताओ कि मेरा 10,000 रुपए कहाँ पहुंचेगा, कहाँ तक गिर सकता है?
10,000 गिरेगा नहीं, 10,600 तो आपको मिनिमम मिलेगा ही। उसके अलावा या तो आपको 10,000 16,200 तक भी जा सकता है, बट एवरेज अगर हम देखें अभी तक जैसा करें तो हम लोग आपको 13,400 रुपीज तो देंगे।
ठीक है. So guys, let's see what she's done. She's used her sentences are still not complete, but let's take stock of whatever she said right now. So yearly mean return is 34. The standard deviation is around this 34. So this 34 there could have been a data point where we've actually got 62% return plus 1 sigma. There's also data that we've got only 6% return. So just let's using 6% and 62,000 and 34,000, she can talk like this. You can say, दिल साहब अगर आपने हमारे साथ 10,000 रुपए रखे, चांस ये भी है कि मैं आपको 16,200 रुपए दूं, चांस ये भी है कि मैं आपका 10,600 रुपए दूं। मोटा मोटा हमारे हिसाब से आ जाना चाहिए रफली 13,400. Is that okay?
Right, sir.
Okay. Now, Shaina, if I ask you, are you sure on this?
Yes, we are sure on 10,600.
You're sure on 10,600? You're not, no, you can't be sure on 10,600. You're 100% sure, 99% sure, 66% sure.
67%.
So now use couple of more things now. वही 10,000 रुपए में कहानी बनाओ. 34% की 62 should be part of your story. 6% should be a part of your story. And instead of 66%, use 2 by 3. दो बारी 3 में से 2/3. चलो कहानी बनाओ अब. Then our question is okay.
Question is okay. So the fund is like that कि अगर आप 10,000 rupees invest करते हैं तो आपको हम लोग maximum 16,200 rupees तो देंगे, या फिर अगर मार्केट बुरा है तो it can go to 10,600 rupees, but on an average हम आपको 13,400 rupees दे देते हैं. तो ये मार्केट खराब होने का जो चांसेस है वो 2 out of 3 है, या 60% टाइम्स ऐसा हो सकता है.
Perfect. ठीक है. Okay. So this is, yeah. So this is the way. Now see, if you talk and say, now when you're talking to somebody and you talk and say कि our mean is this and standard deviation is this, वो बंदा पागल हो जाएगा. He might not understand these things. But now when you convert this into money and say कि आप ये चांस अगर मार्केट अच्छा भी हुआ या 16,000 भी कमा सकते हो, मार्केट खराब हुआ तो आप 600 रुपए में फायदे होंगे, 10,600 होगा. बट हमारी एक्सपेक्टेशन है कि मार्केट आपको 13,400 तक देगी. एंड दिस इज, ये हमारे एक्सपीरियंस में 2 out of 3 times हुआ है. Is that fine? Now likewise, if you can guys can freeze and make a plus minus 2 sigma and plus minus 3 sigma range for me using just these two numbers.
Sir, for the 3 sigma, so this value goes to negative, like 36% something.
It cannot be negative because you cannot have negative. It must be
No. I'm not saying negative. मतलब return को जब separate करेंगे, तो standard deviation कितना 28 है, तो उसका 3 times क्या, right? 3 times.
चलो आप करो अपना 2 plus minus 2 sigma and match your numbers with my numbers on the screen, and then we'll see how to talk about them. Oh, मेरा number. कितना आया आपका अर्नब? Who's waiting? दिग्विजय. हिमांशु नंबर निकाला है?
निकल रहा है.
बड़े आस्ते आस्ते निकल रहा है यार. How much is your number for plus minus 2 sigma?
Sir, it's like minus 22 and 91 and minus 50 and 118. Right.
And minus 50.
Right.
हाँ स्नेहांशु पानी बनाओ यार जल्दी से 10,000 रुपए की for 2 plus minus 2 sigma.
अगर हम 10,000 रुपए इन्वेस्ट करते हैं तो हम कम से कम आपको 10,600 रुपये प्रॉफिट देंगे एक साल बाद। 10,600 रुपये तो कुल मिला के वापस देंगे, और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा 10,600 16,200, लेकिन ऑन एन एवरेज हमको
नंबर कहाँ से आ रहे हैं?
95 10,000
रुपए कहाँ तक जाएंगे?
16,200
कैसे?
62% मैक्सिमम।
19,000 तक
62% कहाँ से आ गया यार? 62%
सॉरी सर,
19,000
कम से कम आपको 19,920 रुपए देंगे, या फिर आपका अगर वर्स्ट कंडीशन मार्केट खराब होता है तो हम आपको 8,800 रुपए देंगे, क्योंकि वो मार्केट खराब कंडीशन की वजह से। लेकिन
8,000 कैसे? 7,800
7,800
हाँ, तो आप कितना का चूना लगा सकते हो मुझे?
2,200, लेकिन
2,200 का, फाइन। So now quickly, again just quickly, more fluently mention the same numbers.
अगर आप 10,000 रुपये इन्वेस्ट करते हैं तो हम आपको ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा प्रॉफिट 19,000 दे सकते हैं कुल मिला के, और मार्केट खराब कंडीशन की वजह से 7,800 रुपये आपको आ सकते हैं।
So how much is the loss that I'm expecting?
2,200.
And how much is the gain?
9,000.
9,000. So now a person will start looking at the proposal like this.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a chance of us losing 2,200. But against this 2,200, there's also a chance of us gaining 9,000. And so, Snanshu, how confident are you here?
सर, ये कैलकुलेशन के हिसाब से हम 95% कॉन्फिडेंट है।
हाँ, तो ऐसे बोलो, मैं 95% सर जी श्योर हूँ इस पर। ये आपका 19,000 भी हो सकता है, 7,800 भी हो सकता है, आपको 9,000 का फायदा हो सकता है, 2,200 का चूना लग सकता है। ये 95% श्योरिटी है मेरी।
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
So now the guy will start working, his mind starts ticking. Is it worth a chance of losing 2,200 versus a gain of 9,000? If 2,200 loss is significant for him, he'll say, "Yaar, chodo 9,000 rupees ko," because he's more worried about the 2,200. Is that fine? Now,
yes, sir.
If you just so quickly now, just make the same numbers for, let's say, 3 sigma. So this is the risk return trade-off here that we're looking at. And now say for 119% and minus 50%. ये numbers ठीक है हमारे? कितना बनेगा?
11,900.
11,900 is a gain. And how much is the loss?
नहीं sir.
5,000.
5,036.
Yeah, so this will become roughly around 22,000. Correct?
Yes.
And this will become, let's say, 5,000.
5,000.
Sudhanshu, sorry. 99% कॉन्फिडेंस से बात करो।
सर, हम 99% के साथ आपको कह सकते हैं कि अगर आप हमारे साथ 10,000 इन्वेस्ट करोगे तो आपको 11,900 का प्रॉफिट हो सकता है, तो कुल मिला के आपको 22,000 रुपए आ सकते हैं। लेकिन अगर मार्केट खराब गया तो सिर्फ 5,000 का लॉस होगा आपको।
बिल्कुल परफेक्ट है, बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया। या एंड ये 99% श्योरिटी पर कह रहे हैं, ठीक है? दैट आई थिंक यू सेड इन द बिगिनिंग, राइट? सो एक्चुअली व्हाट आई एम hinting at is, see, if you talk in terms of return and standard deviation like this, instead of just leaving it dangling like 16% return and 32% return and 1% and 1.9, convert this into a number and then give the ranges, monetary ranges. It'll make a lot more sense. So, for example, Ishan Company, what you could have also done on this is that converted this, let's say, into a 1 million number, and see the impact is very different. So, if your endowment, if people who invested 1 million with us, 10 million with us, 100 million with us, okay, depending on your size, probably 1 million would be a good starting number here. But let's say a very big fund will say somebody's kept 1 billion with me. That guy, 1 billion has gone to these kind of ranges. And if you keep your 1 million with me, I can probably give you around this kind of a number and this kind of a number. Are you guys fine? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
So,
Okay, so I have a question. So as Sumit was stating that they are belongs to a like university or school something, right? So they are worried about the returns. They are expecting at least 30% of the return. So when we are going to tell them कि 99% chance है कि आपका पैसा 50% down हो जाएगा in worst case scenario. So are they going to invest in our portfolio or not?
या वो अभी सुमित से फिर पूछना पड़ेगा whether he is as an endowment fund will typically be aggressive on the returns or will endowment funds be more aggressive on principal protection.
So my question is that कि क्या ये suitable है कि हम उनको बोलें कि कितने परसेंट चांस है नहीं है, हम सिंपल सा बोल दें 66% फिगर वाले बता के बस छोड़ दें.
वो भी हो ठीक है but अगर यार so that's a choice you can make that either you 2 out of 3 times we've had these kind of returns, a range of returns, and somebody says what's your 99% confidence level, if he's very well versed in this then you let it quote that number. But 2 out of 3 is also good starting point, saying that our range of returns has been these kind of numbers. And what Sumit and company will do is they'll start working out the risk element in this. The risk element is this, that as the endowment fund manager, can they afford to lose 22%? Right? Can they afford to lose 22% on their endowment of 2 or 20 million against the chance of getting 9,000? If they don't want to lose this 22, then they'll probably not go for this kind of an option with this kind of history. Here, for example, 5,000 would mean that almost 50% of my endowment is vanished here. This is again very risky. Aryan?
Yes, sir. So that means they are not going to invest in a portfolio because they are basically worried about the returns.
Yes, sir. I also feel like we should hide this number. Like you may lose half of your investment.
So like 20 million ka 10 million ho jayega. I don't think so they are going to invest.
Yeah, but then they, I mean, if somebody does say कि भाई 20 million का 10 million हो जाएगा, but again कि 20 million का ये क्या number है ये this आपका almost double भी हो जाएगा, हो गया ना 120%. Or then they can say that let's split the 20 million into separate categories. On the 20 million, we are willing to play a little more aggressive. On 4 million, Baki 16 million, we want a different approach. So we'll give you 4 million. You be a little more aggressive, play your cards there. But on the 16 million, we want a little safer investment. So anyway, this is the way the returns on the Pro Index are coming up as of now. So Pro Index is not a completely safe bet, but if you look at a 95% surety, there's a chance of us losing almost 50% of our money. Are we fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is where we were in Exhibit 2. I just converted these yearly numbers, or you can use the other side also, the daily numbers, not an issue. So let's go further down. So I think we should be all okay with understanding of holding period return, the CAGR component, the absence of a standard deviation, then the use of daily standard deviation, calculation of the arithmetic mean is something that we've done. Are we okay with this? Chalo, let's go on to correlation. ईशा आपने 65% पर बहुत जोर से बहुत लगे हुए थे आप 0.65 बता रहे. What does 65% mean here? Yeah, what does 65% mean?
That it's going to behave 65% similar to the S&P fund.
So what does I mean? If what so 65 is good number, bad number?
So, it's in a mediocre category because we take account after 0.5 and 0.7. After 0.7, it has a strong correlation.
मुझे आप लक्ष्य what do you mean by 65% correlation? अच्छा है बुरा आपके लिए?
ठीक ठाक है सर.
Average.
Yes sir.
नहीं
सर
yes
वैसे 0.7 जो है वो अच्छा कंसीडर किया जाता है कि डाटा स्ट्रांगली कोरिलेटेड है.
किसके साथ?
सर ऐसे नॉर्मली जो कैलकुलेशंस करते हैं कोरिलेशन की.
हाँ तो इसमें 65% ने किसके अगेंस्ट किया?
Sir, S&P
index.
हाँ, तो 65% means कि आपका fund जो है pro index has a correlation of roughly 65. It is positive, which means index बढ़ेगा तो ये भी बढ़ेगा.
Yes,
in the same direction. Now 65% is on a scale of -1 to +1.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So ideally 80-90 would mean a very strong correlation. It's very strongly linked or moves with the index. Otherwise, the association is right now 65% only.
Yes.
Okay. Now we'll just connect it with beta and others, but instead of correlation, we also use the term R square. So अगर 65% आपका correlation है तो what is R square?
0.65 का whole square.
0.65 का whole square कितना बना?
0.4225.
हाँ, तो अब लक्ष्य मुझे ये समझाओ ये 42%, if 65% is a correlation तो R square is 42%. 42% का क्या मतलब हुआ?
Sir, the 42% of the variance is explained by this number.
नहीं, 42% of which variables variance?
Sir, pro S&P and pro index.
दो फंड है ना आपके सामने, ये आपने correlation R square आपने S&P और pro index का निकाला है.
Yes, sir.
Correct? तो आप 42% सेंटेंस में लगाओ, pro index सेंटेंस में लगाओ, S&P इंडेक्स में लगाओ और समझाओ what does R square mean?
The variation between S&P and pro index fund is explained by the return, not return, sir. Explained by 42.391% of the data point.
Chalo, anyone else? Subhashish?
Sir,
एक minute, somebody else. Subhashish?
Yeah, so the S&P index is able to determine the changes in the determine the dependent variable, the pro index. The S&P index is able to determine the pro index by a factor of 42.25%.
Okay. Part. Anyone else? Complete picture is I'm not getting still.
Sir,
One minute, let me check. Yeah, somebody else. Okay, 1 minute. Ruchi. Somebody gives you 42% R square. इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? Ruchi गायब है. Where is she? She's here. Yes, Ruchi, what does 42% R square, 65% correlation mean?
Yes, sir. Just a second. Actually, I was on mute. So, this will show that 62% of the time.
42%.
Sorry, 42%. 40. Just a second, sir. 42.39% of the time. The movement of S&P, the movement of our pro index will be explained by the movement of our S&P index.
Repeat again, Ruchi. Once again, sorry.
So, 42.39% of the R square will tell us that the movement of our pro index is actually explained by how the trend is being followed in the S&P index.
So 42% of the variation in the pro index from where? Variation from where?
From S&P index.
Chalo, okay, let me just go over it with you again. Okay, guys, so let's see. I've got these numbers here. Then you see these numbers are important also because in the inferences. For example, on the screen out here, I just put the index dashboard for May 2020, and there's an R square factor out here. Okay, so it's the index is reporting this for Nifty 50 has an R square of 1, of course. Then there are, just take a look at this. For example, let's say thematic indices or strategy indices, or let's look at the thematic indices. I'm looking at, yeah. sectoral indices. So if I look at the sectoral indices and I find that the R square is highest for Nifty Financial Services, the R square is lowest for pharma, and typically in India it's the software sector. So media, Todo, metal, and 61. So if pharma has an R square of 0.41 and IT has an R square of 0.61, what does it mean?
So can I give a try, sir? Sir, like any change in the Pro index can be attributed by the S&P index by an accuracy of 42.25%.
Change from where, Subhashish?
From its so like from its historic value, previous values.
Nice. Predicted values.
Yes.
So let's see how it works out. I'll just use the simple example here to illustrate the logic of R square, and then you guys again try and see if you can get a construction going here, sentence construction. So I'm just deliberately using limited data, just 5 data points आपके सामने using exhibit 2. तो इसमें हमारा correlation आया है 90.88. I've just used the Correl function B4 B8 C4 C8, and if I make this Correl into an R square, it will be nothing else but 90.88 to the power of 2. So about 83%. Now let's look at where 83% is coming from. So I'm just hiding these other columns, not relevant for us now. Okay, let's start from here. Okay, so let's see, we've got these returns for the last 5 years, 2009, 2013. Tracking error बाद में देखेंगे, correlation एक बारी देख लेते हैं. So this is Y minus Y bar, which we've essentially said is the 56% in 2009. The mean is 34, so it was 56 minus 34 of the mean predicted value. So minus 20 would mean कि भाई mean हमारी 34 थी over the last 5 years. इस particular area में 14% है, so we were 20% off the mean. So we got this Y minus Y bar, and similarly this X minus X bar is X variable, which is the independent variable. S&P in this case was 7% off the mean, and in 2013 it was 13% off the mean. When I multiply these numbers, Y minus Y bar, X minus X bar, I now come to this number like 1.68, 0.62, 3.64, 0.42, etc. And the sum total of these multiplications is 11.64. I divide this by 4, which is n minus 1, 4 data points. I come to a number like 2.91. We'll discuss what this 2.191 is later. But so what is 2.91? Soumya? Sorry. Okay, I think the sound is dropping. Anyway, we'll come to 2.91 later. Now, I've now come up with a predicted Y value as per line of best fit. That's the column I'm looking at, R. So if I plot these 5 data points like this for the 5 years, these 5 red dots are the 5 data points. The equation of this line using the graph chart, graph menu is coming to 2.2x, 2.26x, and minus 0.151. Now, why do we call this as the line of best fit?
Sir, because ये हमारे returns का एक geometric mean है.
नहीं.
Sir, इस line से
minimize
जितना
the
ज़्यादा
error
close
from
रहेगा.
sum of square of error.
Sir, closer to the.
हाँ, like how
Anjali,
closer to this line we are better. Like the much closer to we are to this line. We are better.
It shows the relationship
मैं
between.
line ऐसे भी draw कर सकता हूँ. Okay, in blue.
Sir,
मैं line या sorry, just one minute. मैं line ऐसे भी draw कर सकता हूँ. Okay. Now the line that is minimizing the square of the differences. So for example, this particular value just below this red dot is the predicted value as per this line. If I look at the actual value was off the line. So there is a difference. And if I square this difference, I square this difference and I square this difference and I square this difference and I square this difference between the red dot and the black line. And I add up these differences. This difference will be the minimum in case the equation of the line reads like this: 2.2 slope and a coefficient of 0.01. मैंने अगर अपनी मनमाजी करी, मैंने ये blue line पकड़ ली और बोला यार ये बड़ी fit करती है, then this blue line is predicting the value here, whereas the red spot is here. There'll be a difference here. Likewise, there's a difference out here, right? And there's a difference. The square of all these differences will be much, much more than the square of differences coming up with the black line. So that's why it's called as a line of best fit. Line of best fit means it minimizes the differences, the square of the differences between the predicted value and the actual value. Everyone okay with the interpretation to line of best fit?
Yes.
तो मैंने अब इस कॉलम अपने predicted value में जैसे I plugged in the same values. The intercept is 0.0151, 2.26 is the slope, and C4 is our X value. X value is that if the S&P was 23%, our predicted value as per this line should have been 51. Predicted value in 2013 should have been 65. Again, I've used the same X coefficient and the intercept, and I've taken 29.6. Now, these are the predicted values, guys. Let's see what the actual values are. Actual values was 56, 14, 11, 17. So we were off the predicted values, but how much off would we? And the square of those differences is a number like this. So if I do the following, R4 minus S4, and I square it, I come to this number. And likewise, 1.77 is a square, 1.68, so forth. And the sum of these is what is called as the error term. Error between the predicted value and the actual value, and that number comes to 5.56% is the sum total of all this. So this is what is called as a residual sum of squares, or RSS. Now let's see what was the actual variance of Y from its mean. Because we are only talking about the predicted value, which is the dependent variable, in this case Y, which is in our case pro index. Y minus Y ka square from the mean was like this. This is 22.07 was the difference. हमने square कर दिया हर साल का, and हमारा number आया 31.94. So now let's stop here and pause and see the interpretation to this. 31 or 32% is nothing else but the variance, the sum of all squares of Y from its predicted mean. 5.56 is the variation between the predicted value of Y versus its actual value. So this is the residual. Ideally, this number should be 0 if our predictor, which is S&P, is perfect. If our model is perfect, if the slope is perfect, if the x-intercept is perfect, we should typically get a 0. But we're not getting a 0, we're getting a square of differences, and the sum of that to be 5.56. Now, if I take the ratio of this, 5.56 divided by 31, I'm coming to 17%, which is the unexplained variance, as a proportion of the total variance. Total variance 31-32% था. उसमें से 5.56 is the unexplained portion. Unexplained is essentially nothing else but these red dots lying off the black line. So now if I look at the 17% is unexplained, that means explained is how much by default? 82%. And this 82% is what you'll notice is the R square. So now make a sentence with 82% and tell me what does R square as a concept mean?
Sir, it means that 82% of the 82% of the times the pro index movement is similar to the S&P 500 index movement.
Okay, Sharbani, I would, okay, let's, 82% of the variance
Sorry, variance. Sorry.
in Y from its mean is explained by S&P. Because what have we taken it as a proportion of? We've taken it as a proportion of the total variance of Y. 32% is the total variation happening in Y. Y minus Y bar. उस 32% का 5.56% is unexplained and 82%, which is 17%, 83% is explained. So 83% of the variations happening in pro index from its mean value can be explained by the independent variable which happens to be S&P 500. 17% पता नहीं क्यों हो रहा है. Are you guys okay on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now just try if you can make a sentence with this. If I say for 61% is the Nifty IT's R square. Nifty IT का R square is 61%. Sentence बनाओ जल्दी से. What does 61% mean?
Sir, 61% of variance in Nifty IT will be explained by the movement of Nifty 50.
Okay, perfect. So 61% of the variation happening in Nifty IT from its mean value is because can be attributed to Nifty 50. All right, let's go one step further. 88%, no, sorry, the financial services and bank. I mean, ये दोनों club कर लो, मोटा-मोटा same है. इसमें Bajaj Financial Services आ जाएगा, इसमें banks आ जाएंगे, but essentially they're catering to the same BFSI sector. 90% of the variations in Nifty bank and financial services from their respective means can be attributed to the Nifty 50. Okay, last one. 41% of the variation happening in Nifty Pharma can be attributed to Nifty 50. बाकी 60% का क्या है? बाकी 60% variation in Nifty Pharma is happening because of what factors?
Unexplained.
Unexplained factors. Is that fine? So the systematic factors, the explained factors are what we're calling as a systematic risk, and the unexplained portion is what we're calling as the unsystematic risk. So coming back here, अगर मैंने पैसा निफ्टी बैंक और निफ्टी फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज, लेट्स से बैंकिंग एंड फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज में लगाना है, मुझे इकोनॉमिक टाइम्स ज्यादा पढ़ना चाहिए या मुझे एनुअल रिपोर्ट ऑफ द बैंक ज्यादा पढ़नी चाहिए?
एनुअल रिपोर्ट.
क्यों?
No sir, economic actually we need to see the Nifty 50 more, like economic.
Okay, basically what we're saying is you need to see the macro picture first. Okay, macro picture is getting captured in the Nifty 50. And
yeah, yes.
So basically you have to spend more time reading the economic times, seeing the macro picture rather than worrying about the annual report of the particular company. Because the driver for Nifty 50, roughly 90% of the variation in all these stocks is happening because of macro variables. But when I'm looking at Nifty Pharma, I'm looking at Sun Pharma, I'm looking at DRL, I'm looking at Cipla. यहाँ क्या करना है?
Sir, statement, financial statements.
Yes, here I need to worry about financial statements, something happening specific to Sun Pharma, something happening specific to Cipla is more important than looking at the macro picture. Why is that in the case of pharma?
Only 31% of the variance in Nifty Pharma is explained by the variation in Nifty 50.
Sir, around Sir,
41%.
41%, sorry.
60% of variance cannot be explained.
Not be explained by
Exactly. So 60% of the variation in the returns of pharma from their mean returns cannot be explained by the Nifty 50, which only 40% is explained. So 60% is not explained, which means we need to figure out where that 60% is coming from.
Sir,
Is it because of patents? Is it because of IPs? Is it drug discoveries, cost, regulatory complications, etc.? Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I was asking same question. I thought you were asking like why pharma industry specifically like having this much low.
हाँ तो इसमें सी इकोनॉमी अच्छा करे, बूम करे, कोविड है कि नहीं है, फार्मा का धंधा चल रहा है. Economy comes out of COVID. Pharma is not that pharma will come for a depression or pharma will boom during. It's just going on. It's going on a steady pace. So it is relatively, yeah, immunity ज़्यादा है. Immunity is a little stronger here from what is happening in the macro picture.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Is that fine, guys? On the interpretation to R square. Now, if I go back to our case Thompson and the R square, in our case, using these 5 data points is 82. But if I look at the other variables here, the R square is working out to
42, sir. 42.
It came to 42% here. Now, what kind of questions Ankul and you guys, Lakshay, etc., need to ask? The R square is 42% of this particular fund.
So we would want to know why 60% of the complete fund is not accounted for and only 40% is being in variance with the S&P index.
Right. So the question that this will throw up is, Isha and Madam are going on, harping on कि हमारा 65% है, we are very closely aligned with the index, हमारा beta is also equal to 1, very closely aligned with the index. अगर ये हो रहा है तो यार R square 90% क्यों नहीं आ रहा है? Why is your R square coming to 42%? Then it should be aligned. If it's so well aligned with the index, it should be closer to 90, 80, 90%, closer to 100. And I'll just show you for the others. Yes, for some of the funds, the R square is that high. Right? So it's then what is Thompson actually up to? If their R square is a number like 42, then where is the remaining 60% coming from? What is this a warning of?
That they are doing unnecessary transactions, like they are doing unnecessary reinvestment of their fund.
So if you just go back, let's say you go back to this is an index ETF. She's running an ETF, exchange traded fund.
Right.
And let us say it's an index ETF. So before that, Arnab, tell me, if I was running an index mutual fund and I was to convert that into an ETF, what would the difference be?
So this instruments future.
If let us say we were running an index mutual fund.
Right.
So for example, let me give you some context so you can then relate to it. ये हमारा Nifty 50 है. Right?
Right.
Let us say I create a Nifty index fund.
Right.
And then I convert this into a Nifty index ETF. क्या फर्क है?
ETF तो sir real time pricing only.
Perfect. ठीक है, मैं रियल टाइम आपको प्राइसिंग दूंगा. मिनट बाय मिनट 11:20 पर क्या वैल्यू है मैं दे सकता हूं. और अगर म्यूचुअल फंड है तो क्या करूंगा?
At the end of the day only.
So if let's say Arnab or anyone wants to come, or Shena wants to come and say I want to refund, I want my money refund. आज Shena शाम को आना. कब कितने बजे आऊं? 4 बजे के बाद आना. या कल आना. कल I will give you, मैं yesterday का वैल्यू कंप्यूट करूंगा, शाम को बता दूंगा, अगले दिन आप आना, आपको रिफंड मिल जाएगा. But if it is an ETF, I'm giving you a real time quote on the NAV and you can sell this in the market right away. Now, it is not necessarily that the ETF is better than the index fund, because it could happen like this. Let us say, I'm just giving, let's say I'm looking at Adani Ports, for example, or let's say my NAV at 11 o'clock was a number like, let's say 12 rupees. The NAV at the close was a number like 14 rupees. And if the ETF, if the ETF is giving me a quote, or the index fund, sorry, is giving me a quote based on the closing values at the 14, I'm better off if I'm a buyer, if I'm a seller, than at the 12. All that the ETF is giving me is the ETF is giving me the flexibility to sell as and when I want. So it gives me that feeling of control. Whereas in the case of the index fund, the fund house says you come in the evening, we'll compute our NAV based on closing prices, and that will determine our purchase price, selling price. So here I get the feeling, यार ये बड़ा time लगा रहे हैं यार, मुझे शाम को आना पड़ रहा है, फिर कोट बनाएंगे, फिर पता चलेगा. But sometimes it could well work out in case the closing prices are better off than the prices I got during the day. Okay, so it's not necessarily that the ETF scores on that front. ETF is only giving me that control factor and get that feel good factor of having 100% control over this. So if you now look at the R square, which is low for this. So what exactly are these guys up to when they're running their ETF? Are they aligning the ETF with the index?
No, sir.
No. If they were, then what should R square have been? Tracking error should be low, R square should be high.
Right.
Tracking error is also not low. With 23%, although she mentioned only 1.45, but ये daily का था. You would be smart enough to say कि ये मैडम ये daily का है कि साल का कि monthly है आपका tracking error. She just mentioned 1.45 and moved on, which is smart, okay? Because if you convert it to throw the higher number, it's a little detrimental to your interest. But anyway, so now what are they up to in case their R squares are low and their tracking errors are high, and they claim to be aligned with the index?
Sir, the time of, like, they are withdrawing the money from the fund, from the index.
Okay, so this could be one reason that they are in and out of the index like a 0-1 situation. कभी पूरा का पूरा index में securities बेच दी, and then they put it into cash or money market instruments. फिर decide किया this is a good time to enter the market, and they again buy it. Okay, so their tracking error will be high and the R square numbers will also be on the lower side. What else are they possible, Shaina? What else could they be doing without getting into the cash and money market side? Another possibility?
Sir, they mentioned, Alison mentioned one option that she never tried, that short position. She mentioned that.
She's doing a lot of shorting. Or batao, or we'll come to the shorting later. Why else could there be a tracking error and a poor R square?
Maybe they were invested in another stocks which are not on index funds.
Okay, so one possibility, Snehanshu, is that they are essentially identifying securities which are not part of the index and therefore ending up with a high R square. Or even if they say we are following the index, what else could they be doing, Snehanshu, in this?
Weightages might be
weightage could be different. True. मैंने बोल दिया है एशियन पेंट्स में लगाया है, इंडेक्स का सिक्योरिटी है, ठीक है, इंडेक्स में लेटर से उसकी 1% सिक्योरिटी है और मैंने 10% लगा रखा है एशियन पेंट्स में. ऐसे रिलायंस में लगाया हुआ है, रिलायंस इंडेक्स की सिक्योरिटी है, उसमें 10% इज अ वेटेज, लेट्स से मैंने 15% लगा रखी है, राइट? सो ऑल दीज आर रीजंस व्हाई द आर स्क्वायर विल बी ऑफ ट्रैक and I'll end up with a higher tracking error. Are you guys fine on this? Can we move on?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you just go back now, let's see the interpretation to this. We've got a volatility estimate for 1 year on the index tax dashboard. This correlation R square is meaningless. यार एक variable enter करो, because correlation से R square निकल सकता है, and R square is little more informative as compared to correlation, right? And covariance. So they've just added meaninglessly one more column out here, but R square is sufficient for this. So now we've got this volatility 1 year is what does this mean? What does 38% mean? %, 40%, 42% का क्या मतलब हुआ volatility का?
Is the standard deviation of the returns.
Standard deviation
of the returns.
ये daily कहाँ से आ गया आप?
Sir, average daily returns का standard deviation.
हाँ, फिर आगे क्या किया? तो ये साल का नंबर है यार.
But how risky the security is?
Yeah, but Ruchi, this is annual number, daily number, क्या है ये?
This is the annualized number.
Yeah, annualized volatility. So if the returns are, let's say 10%, let's say if I'm looking at 1 year returns out here, and Nifty Auto, let's look at a positive number. Okay, Nifty Pharma. So Nifty Pharma, let's say 17% annualized return. So daily return multiplied by 250 आया होगा roughly 17% के आसपास. Now 17% इसका return है, इसका volatility 28% है, which means plus minus 1 sigma. I could have ended up with 16 plus 28, 44%, 2 out of 3 times. I could have ended up with 17% minus 28, minus 11%, again 2 out of 3 times. And like this, I can construct my plus minus 2 sigma, plus minus 3 sigma ranges. Are you guys fine? Base must be constant यार. Yearly का number कर रहे हो, साल का return, साल का volatility. Sorry.
But then the numbers which you calculated for the 10,000 around the standard deviation, that is volatility.
Yes, volatility is same thing as standard deviation. ये देखो ना. I showed you the daily volatility. Yeah, so if I look at the index options and they say daily volatility, there's nothing else but daily standard deviation. Annualized volatility is nothing but annualized standard deviation. Implied volatility is nothing but implied standard deviation if the pricing of a certain order on the put option or call option. Is that all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
चलो आगे चलते हैं. So we are good up to here. Correlation हो गया. Let's come to beta. Anji, what does beta 1.014 mean?
How the portfolio is changing in response to the changes in the market.
So make a sentence with 1.014. So for example, yeah, if beta for, let's say, Adani Ports, this is the rolling data that I'm giving you, let's say, based on our exercise on 30th of July, sorry, 29th of July, yesterday's data. We're looking at this row out here. Is 0.94. Beta for Axis Bank is 1.53. just take only a look at the beta for the financial services sector. So we're looking at Axis Bank, 1.53. Bajaj Financial Services, 1.3. Bajaj Finance, 1.4. Okay, आगे चलते हैं. HDFC and HDFC Bank, north of 1. ICICI Bank 1.4, IndusInd 1.66. Or that's it, I think. And Yes Bank is Kotak 1.07. SBI is about 1.23. That's it. So most of the banks happen to have a beta more than 1. Okay. So what does this mean here?
Sir, beta suggests how volatile that particular security is. So let's say a beta of 1.4, somebody had a beta of 1.37. So that means their price will change 1.3 times that of the market.
The market here is
the entire index.
Okay. So make a sentence with 1.014.
Let's say it's HDFC's beta. So the prices of HDFC are the change in price of HDFC is 1.04 times that of the change of index.
Okay. And similarly applies for plus and minus?
No, only plus.
Plus.
So market comes down by 1%. ये अपना fund का क्या हुआ?
हाँ sir, वो down होगा same. Both ways same होगा.
So this beta is one, it's a linear relationship that we are referring to, and it's a measure of the sensitivity of. So when we say, let's say, beta for SBI is 1.23 or beta for IndusInd Bank is 1.66, it means that the index goes up by 10% on a certain date. We can expect the IndusInd Bank to go up by how much? 16.6%, 1.6 times. Market comes down by 10%. We can expect IndusInd Bank to come down by
8.4%.
16 again, no, 16.6%.
Down
and up.
Okay.
Okay. So now just take a look at this. This is the beta for our IT stocks. So the IT stocks, what I've taken is the standard ones, HCL Technology, Infi, TCS, blah, 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 Naukri, NIT Technology, Just Dial, Exaware, Tata Elxsi, OFS. These are all securities which are part of the Nifty index at different points in time. So if I now look at the plot out here, what are we able to infer? The beta, let's say, is 1. You can see bulk of the IT stocks have a beta less than 1. Why is that?
They are less volatile or more stable as compared.
That's the arithmetic. Now give me economic reasons why it is less than 1.
So they have constant cash flow, rolling.
Because of the high trading volume.
No. What is the business reason for that?
So they have most of the exports. That's
right. They are not dependent upon the fate of the Indian economy. Their revenue model is entirely US, Europe, dollar oriented. They do not depend on India में good GDP, bad GDP हुआ, इधर ये पंगा हुआ, वो पंगा हुआ, कुछ नहीं है. Because their business model is entirely dollar dependent and revenue generated from abroad. Similarly, if you see out here, if you look at this is for the entire 50 securities. Now, if you look at the beta more than 1, which are these companies more likely? In this quadrant on the right hand top, where I'm moving my arrow cursor.
The indigenous companies जो इंडिया में सब पैसा लाते हैं.
And बताओ कौन सी हैं जिनका beta more than 1 है? Beta more
Steel,
than 1.
construction companies.
Nay, which is the betas with the highest betas?
The pharma.
No,
Banking and finance.
banking and financial services. Okay, let's see the banks. Okay, so let's see first these, let's start again. Let's start. This is the FMCG sector. Betas on the x-axis and y-axis is standard deviation. चलो उसको बाद में देखते हैं variance, but let's just focus only on the x value here. Colgate 0.51, Dabur, Imami, Godrej, Jubilant Foods, borderline, Marico Beck, PGHH, Tata Consumables, UBL, McDowell, and VBL. And the Nifty FMCG index is up here. Okay, what are you able to infer from here?
So these companies are not do not move by the Indians like
Hey,
Indian
they
market.
move by the Indians. ऐसा नहीं है. They move by the Indian economy, but
इतना impact नहीं है Indian market का इनके movement पर.
yeah, so they are less sensitive to the macro picture because they're dealing in essentials. COVID हुआ कि नहीं हुआ, इनका धंधा अभी भी चल रहा है. Right? It's not like cinema hall, PVR, who's totally finished right now. It's not like education industry down. It's not like restaurants, hoteliering, tourism, aviation, which is taking a hit. They are relatively having a very low beta. Their sensitivity to the overall economy is macro picture. The Nifty 50 is very, very low. So just 1 minute. I'll just come back to it. Just let me show you the IT picture and then. Okay. So now let's take a look at the IT. The IT guys are here, and this is the IT TRI. This is broadly the same level. Okay. NIT Technologies, one outlier. बाकी सब इधर भाग कर आ जाएंगे. नौकरी भी इधर ही है. Emphasis, Mindtree, LTI. चलो ये छोड़ो. Okay. So those are the major. Okay, so let's see the big guys. Sorry. Wipro. Tech Mahindra, less in this. All these are in this quadrant, barring NIT Technology. TCS. Who's the guy left out? HCL Technology, I think. Infi, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So barring NIT Technology, all the other guys are having a low beta here. Again, what is your inference? FMCG hua, pharma hua, in Indian IT software industry. Conclusion क्या आपका? Jaldi. Pharma also you can see DRL is here. Cipla is here.
So they are global companies, तो इस वजह से जो impact है वो सिर्फ Indian नहीं है, but global impact है.
And also they are dealing in essentials.
Yeah, so their returns are driven more by what? Systematic factors or unsystematic factors?
Systematic factors.
Systematic. No, then the beta should be very high.
Unsystematic factors.
Unsystematic, sir.
Yeah, so domestic factors, domestic systematic factors do not play an important role. Political election में क्या हुआ? Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? These don't have a major determinant on these guys' performance. But yes, what happens with the US economy can have a major effect. What happens with the global economy can have a major impact. But domestically, what's happening is not the major driver for these stocks. So these are stocks what are called as defensive stocks. Defensive stocks means in bad times, you'll have to flock to an FMCG stock, pharma stocks, and Indian IT stocks. In bad times, if you're sitting on banking and financial services sector, this guy is going to be very vulnerable. 1.66 का बीटा लेकर चले हुए हैं इन इंडसइंड बैंक. मार्केट 10% गिरी है, इंडसइंड बैंक would be down by -16%. मार्केट ऊपर चढ़ी है, then it is good to be in IndusInd Bank because there the market is expected to go, the IndusInd Bank share is expected to go up by 16%.
So why Yes Bank was at a very different position?
Yes Bank, because the market is not freely traded ever since the bankruptcy situation. So the price isn't very market driven right now. But if you go back in time before the bankruptcy issues, it was again +1 only, way beyond in the +1 category.
So can we say, like, if we have a beta of 1, then we are in an ideal situation?
No, there's no ideal in this. It's just a cutoff. 1 means it's exactly the fund. It's exactly the market. But sometimes I need to be aggressive in case the market is growing. I need to move into high beta stocks. Market is crashing, tend to move into low beta stocks. So, for example, if you just take a look at the daily returns, and if you see the red, which stocks are not carrying any red? I mean, most of the securities are carrying red everywhere in the letters here. But if you take a look at the pharma stocks or DRL, these two guys,
Sir, can you zoom a little?
वो just red color देखना है यार, number नहीं देखना. But you can see the Cipla and DRL are the guys. This data is sent to you to work out. This the red is much less. If you look at the holding period returns, let's say from 1st of this is a better indicator. You look at the holding period returns from 1st of April 2019 till date. Adani, Axis, सबका red. Asian Paints, Bharti Airtel, Cipla, DRL, Hindustan Unilever.
सर ये डेटा जो है ये आफ्टर कोविड है सर, मतलब इट इज द लेटेस्ट डेटा.
It is with the COVID. It is all the way up to yesterday यार.
तो सर जो एयरटेल है मान लो, तो वो तो अच्छा करना चाहिए था बिकॉज
तो कच्चा किया है ना, ब्लैक में है. ब्लैक
एयरटेल सर, एयरटेल
भारती एयरटेल यही तो है.
अच्छा ही किया रेट वाला
डाउन. Holding period return till yesterday, from 1st of April 2019 till yesterday, 16% in Asian Paints, Bajaj Auto 6, Bajaj Finance is 8.5, but the big guys are Bharti Airtel 70%, Cipla DRL 54. So कहने का मतलब है all the Unilever 30%, Infi 28, SBI -40, Tata Motors -40. I mean, कहने का ये मतलब है that these defensive stocks have held up. The IT stocks, FMCG stocks, Nestle 51%. You see most of the IT stocks here. LTI, Larsen Toubro, Mindtree, all positive. Okay, so anyway, the point I'm just trying to make is that number one, we're trying to figure out what beta is, and in our case, we are saying there are stocks with the beta less than 1. There are stocks that are beta more than 1. Beta more than 1, aggressive. Beta less than 1 would be defensive stocks. Typically, in the Indian context, the defensive stocks would be the IT stocks, the pharma stocks, and the FMCG stocks. Aggressive on the higher beta level would be your banking and financial services largely. And you're talking about metals or something. Metals may Adani is, let's say, close to 1 beta.
सर सर बट अगर इंडियन मार्केट अच्छा कर रही है तो इन दैट केस तो जिसका बीटा अच्छा होगा दैट विल परफॉर्म बेटर.
Yeah, so if the market is expected to go up, then you need to move into high beta stocks. Otherwise, you tend to move into the low beta stocks in case the market is going down. So this is what is called as beta management. So if you just come back, sorry, मैं वो बाद में देखता हूँ. Sorry दिखा देता हूँ. Tata Steel is on the higher side, I think so. Vedanta and Tata Steel. $1.29 Vedanta. Tata Steel 1.2. So metals and your BFSI on the higher side. Similarly, if you look at the life insurance also, closer to 1 HDFC and the ETF on the, yeah. So if, just last question, if HDFC index ETF has a beta of 0.45, what has HDFC done?
They have invested in the stocks outside India.
Or low beta stocks.
Or lower beta stocks.
Okay, so either IT stocks, not outside India, I mean whose business model is outside India. So low beta here would mean into FMCG, pharma and IT stocks. They would have shifted their portfolio into this. That's why they ended up with a low beta of 0.45.
They might have like invested in those stocks which are like basically less volatile in the whole time frame in which they were invested in.
Yeah, here volatile would mean, see volatility, Ashish has two definitions here. One is total volatility or only beta level volatility. Okay.
So which one exactly we are considering?
So we can have a situation like this also where the beta is low but the total standard deviation is very high. Let's see which are the stocks that fall into this box where beta is low on the lower side but the standard deviation is high. बंदे इधर beta देखो, sorry, beta is, there are one or two cases here, 62%, and there's another guy out here. This would probably be Yes Bank also outlier. But anyway, so there are some stocks that are sorry, I think this I can use. Yes Bank, okay, but again keep the Yes Bank out because that's affected by other factors.
The standard deviation of individual stock they will be like for individual stock.
So let's take a look at Infratel. Infratel is in this category where beta is low, but the overall standard deviation is very high. So what does this mean?
So it means that their stock prices are moving, like have high volatility. However, it is not in line with the market's volatility.
Okay, so total risk of the stock is high, but the systematic risk is low, which means the unsystematic risk is, total risk is 62%. Beta is a measure of your systematic risk, which happens to be low. Therefore, the unsystematic risk is on the higher side. Is Infratel a defensive stock?
No.
No,
Yeah. Why no?
because it has high volatility in price.
Yeah, but now if I combine it into a portfolio, let's say, let's see what the R square value is also. So the would you like to hold in the R square value here is 13%. What does 13% mean?
Only 13% variation in its prices is explained by the Nifty 50s variation.
So if you were to hold Infratel only, would you be exposed to systematic risk or unsystematic risk?
Systematic risk. Unsystematic
risk.
Would the unsystematic risk be significant or small?
Significant, sir.
Significant, because 62% annualized volatility is significant. Correct? But if I was to, let's say, look at Infi for a Infi has a 37% total risk, and his R square is 34%. So let's see what is the inference here. There is a little bit of largely still unsystematic risk, but the unsystematic risk is also small, 38%. Whereas in the case of Infratel, the unsystematic risk proportion is very high, 87%, and that number itself is a very high number, like in the total picture, 62%. Are you guys with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So we've done up to here, which is up to the beta interpretation. We'll just carry on from the beta interpretation next time. And then we look at Sharp, Trainer, Jensen, daily tracking error kar liya, analyze tracking error kar diya, information ratio phir kar lenge. So we'll essentially touch upon these guys: Sharp, Trainer, Jensen, information ratio, and I'll also touch upon some other metrics like MM ratio, Sortino ratio, etc. Is that fine?
Yes, sir. Sir, just can you help me with something? Like the previous one, when we compare the both the beta and the standard deviation, like I have problem in explaining that in the simpler terms. Like for like to a layman, like how will we explain that in a sentence?
Which one?
The previous one, sir. The previous one is for the NP.
Infratel वाला example.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
हाँ बताओ. Try करो अपने आप.
Yes, sir.
One second, let me pull it up.
Yes. So for considering beta, we'll say that.
Start with the total picture first. Let's see. Infratel का total risk कितना है? Quantify करो.
Total risk is in the whole portfolio is 0.77.
नहीं ये beta है.
Okay.
Total risk.
Sir, total risk is 61.77.
So 62% is the total risk of Infratel.
Okay, sir.
Correct? How much of this total risk of 62% is explained by the market?
Hello, sir.
Total risk of Infratel is 62%.
Yes, sir.
How much of the 62% is explained for by the market?
Sir, 0.8%, sir.
नहीं, 13%. 13% of 62% is explained by market. Now, in that narrow window of 13%, what is the strength of the relationship with the index? It is 0.77. So beta is only capturing the systematic risk of this 13%, the sensitivity. 87% of the 62%, which is 1 minus R square, is explained by unsystematic factors. Unsystematic factors could mean टावर का रेंटल आया कि नहीं आया, टावर किसी ने ज्यादा लिए कम लिए, एक टेनेंसी का टावर है कि 2 टेनेंसी का टावर है. I mean, all these are now, all the jargon that I'm using is specific to the tower industry. It has nothing to do with macro picture या इंडिया का GDP क्या है, current account deficit क्या है, repo rate क्या है, कुछ नहीं है लेना देना. right? So I'm just repeating, Ashish, once again. The total risk is 62%. Of the 62, 13 is explained by the Nifty 50.
Yeah.
Of that 13%, 0.77 is a measure of relationship there. It's got a very low relationship there in that narrow window of 13%. 87% is explained by company specific factors. Let me run through one more with you. Let me just give you another case. Let's look at let's take a look at this guy. कहाँ गया? IndusInd. हाँ, चलो IndusInd की कहानी बताओ मुझे जल्दी से. Then we close.
Sir, so IndusInd Bank का total risk है 36%, sir.
कहाँ से 36% है total risk?
Sir, 35. Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. So IndusInd Bank का total risk है sir 80.2%.
चलो 80 मोटा नंबर यूज करो 80%. चलो आगे.
Okay, 80%, जिसमें से उसका 98% is explained by the market.
क्या?
Hello?
नहीं, not correct है. आशीष फिर start करो.
Sir, 80% for IndusInd Bank, 80% is the stock, 80% is the total risk, whereas
how much is explained by systematic factors?
Sir, वो वाला मैं नहीं समझ पा रहा हूँ sir.
36%. ये R square है ना?
R square, yes. So
R square 36% है. So 36% R square is nothing else but the proportion of the systematic risk in the total risk. Total risk 80% है. उसमें से roughly 1/3 is systematic, 2/3 is unsystematic. Now within that 1/3 risk, what is the measure of relationship? That उस narrow window में relationship is 1.66. Beta and R square go hand in hand. R square defines the opportunity. Opportunity is 36% at the systematic level. Within that, market अगर 100% systematic हुई तो 1.66 से up down चलेगा इधर. But IndusInd Bank के case में roughly 2/3, sorry, what am I saying? Yeah, roughly 20% is outside the index, 80% is within the market. Okay, we'll carry on from here next time. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Just think over it. No, not an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Achha, so we are meeting now on next Monday, I think. Same time or is it 4 o'clock time? I'll check it out. No problem. I'll also mail the. So I think we should be in a position to complete this discussion by next session, and then we'll get onto the momentum side. So I'll mail the questions, etc., for the momentum guys to start working on. But we'll definitely take it up in the following session. But you can get started to work on the momentum side. Done?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, anyone's got any questions, I can stay back here.
Sir, I had one question.
The others are free to go. I'm not holding any session, but yeah.
Yes, sir. So, when you talk about beta, when you talk about the market risk, does it have anything to do with the, like, I read somewhere that when Jio was trying to go debt free, so it had an impact on the beta, like it had an impact on the regulation beta. So when you
एक मिनट डेटा से बात करते हैं. एक सेकंड. So this is Reliance.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yeah. So the beta of Reliance definitely has come down from 1.16 to a number like 1.1.
Yes.
And then I think it has gone up at one time 1.13. Again, this is 1 year of data. हाँ, अब बोलो क्या कहानी है?
So anyway, that is what I wanted to ask कि अगर मतलब अगर कोई मतलब किसी ने अगर कोई मतलब डेट लिया हुआ है या फिर कोई डेट रिटर्न कंपनी है, तो सपोज वो आईटी सेक्टर में भी हो या फिर कोई भी सेक्टर में हो, तो does that have that वो like that अगर जैसे कि आईटी से जैसे कि अपना आईटी में एनआईटी वाला that had a higher return.
Let's start with Reliance only. वो आईटी के बाद में जाते हैं because those guys are zero debt. If you are a shareholder in Reliance,
yes sir,
and Reliance has a lot of debt, let's say for a minute, आपको पैसा कब मिलेगा? बैंकर को क्लियर कर कर, बैंकर की सारी रिक्वायरमेंट्स क्लियर कर कर, तब आपको डिविडेंड वगैरह कुछ मिलेगा, करेक्ट?
yes sir,
because the banker comes in the hierarchy way ahead of the shareholder.
yes sir,
Correct. So now if you were a shareholder in the days when Reliance had a lot of debt, wouldn't your risk in the business business risk be very high?
yes sir,
It would be high now, correct?
yes sir,
because आपको पैसा after the bankers, then the money would trickle into you. So now if I go about pricing Reliance in the debt heavy days, right, I would typically, I'm referring to beta levered, beta unlevered, if you've done those things in first year. So
yes,
the beta would get levered because of the high proportion of debt in Reliance. Right now, as the leverage comes down, beta levered comes closer to beta unlevered, the risk in the business comes down. So shareholder कहेगा कि मेरी business में risk थोड़ी कम हो गई है because the debt proportion has been taken over. We've taken money from Facebook, Google, इससे से पैसा लिया है, and we've used this to clear up, let's say, some debt.
okay,
Okay, so it is when the debt comes down and the beta levered will become closer to beta unlevered, then there'll be a reduction in the level of the beta.
तो वो तो मतलब this risk is completely unsystematic risk में ही हम उसको classify करेंगे जो
हाँ तो इसमें ना see because the yes debt is a unsystematic factor, but this unsystematic factors eventually comes into the pricing of the bond, pricing of the share and the fluctuations, because business risk plus financial risk is the total risk. Financial risk थोड़ी कम हो जाती है, leverage comes down, the fluctuation prices will come down, which is what we're capturing in the beta.
Okay, so it's not always good to actually invest on something मतलब बीटा को देख के वो तो ओवरऑल रिस्क नहीं बताता, तो बीटा को देख के मतलब रिस्क मेजर नहीं करना चाहिए completely in every case.
हाँ देखो, अब बीटा is only capturing the risk within the systematic bucket.
Yes, sir.
अब लेकिन इंफ्राटेल में unsystematic bucket बहुत बड़ी है, वहाँ बीटा नहीं काम चलता है. बीटा is only on the systematic side. अब unsystematic bucket in infratel is only 20%. Sorry, what जो भी कुछ था, okay, 40% or something. Total risk is 60%. R square was 17%, so only 20% of the 60% is in the systematic bucket. उस छोटी सी bucket का metric is beta.
Yes, sir.
So beta might not be relevant if I want to look at the risk picture of infratel, unless I combine infratel into a portfolio. Okay. Where the unsystematic risk gets eliminated.
Okay. Okay. So मतलब diversify करने से that कुछ फायदा होगा.
Right. So diversification करने से ही मुझे वो 1 point वो beta पर देखना है. अगर diversify नहीं किया और beta पर नजर डाल रहा हूँ, मैं पागलपन कर रहा हूँ.
Okay. Fine.
कहने का ये मतलब है कि अगर if you are holding infratel as a sold stock or let's say within 3-4 stocks, then looking at beta is not going to make sense. You need to look at the total unsystematic risk because that bucket is very huge. But if I'm holding infratel along with 200 other securities, then I can assume that 80% has got eliminated because of diversification. Then beta becomes sensible.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
और कुछ?
No, sir. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other queries?
No, sir. That's it.
Thanks. Sir. I'm shutting down then.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Bye.